Hello, excuse me, madam. Hello, not audible, madam. Sound is not coming.
To hear now?
Yes, madam. Now it is audible.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was just referring back to that for the last 2 days, we have deliberated upon the competencies which are expected of the graduates from technical institutions. And yesterday we focused on what kind of processes need to be in place in education system to develop those requisite competencies. Today, the focus is how to evaluate student performance when it comes to the technical knowledge and skills, and then the host of generic skills for which we are referring to that teachers should emphasize or use student-centric methods of instruction like group discussion, case study, brainstorming, project work, collaborative learning, and cooperative learning, etc. Now, when it comes to evaluation, it is an integral part of teaching learning system, but the existing system has number of gray areas where we need to pay attention, and there are many issues in the process of evaluation. As a stakeholder, whether you are a student, you are a parent, you are a community, you are an industry personnel, or you are a teacher in the system, you are concerned with number of issues in evaluation. The very first issue which comes to the mind is, why do we need to evaluate students' performance? Yesterday, you had listened to the two panelists who said there is no need to evaluate student performance, and especially at the end of the semester or the year, why can't we think of an alternate system whereby each student is assessed each day and we have a continuous record maintained about the change in the competency level of the learner. So the very first issue which comes to mind is what purposes the evaluation of student performance serves for the teacher, for the student, for the administrator, for the curriculum planner, and so on. The second thing which is important is at present, the system in vogue is where we try to compare the performance of one student with the other. Now we are shifting our focus to outcome-based education. So are we really concerned with whether it should be norm-referenced evaluation or it should be criterion-referenced evaluation? The third issue comes in mind is the internal assessment and the end-term evaluation. Do we need both, or should the weightage given to internal assessment should be more, or should the weightage to continuous assessment be more than the end-term evaluation which is carried out in the technical education system? And if at all, the continuous or internal assessment in theory, practical work, project work, and industrial training is planned, then what should be the criteria for internal assessment? Our whole focus in evaluation has been on written test. So one is really bothered at this time, is this is the only way whereby we can evaluate our students' performance, or are there other measures to evaluate students' performance in theory? Then when it comes to practical work, it has been said it is a lot of subjectivity creeps in the practical evaluation of students. So the question is, are there different tools which are available, which are required to evaluate student performance objectively? So what kind of tools are available or need to be designed and developed by the teachers to evaluate students' performance objectively? Another question, when we look at the tests which are constructed by the teachers or by the paper setters for end-term examination, then the question is with respect to the validity, reliability, and objectivity of those question papers. So the question is, what should be the weightage assigned to different types of test questions or items, or at the first stage, what should be the weightage given to the learning outcomes that have been specified for any program or course of study? Because here we are talking about when you shift your focus to outcome-based education, then it is likely to be that you have learning outcomes and you design experiences to achieve those learning outcomes. So every person who has spoken till date in the previous two panels, they have focused on that whole focus is on at the level of remembering and understanding, and hardly focus on application and higher than application level. And this is where the graduate attributes which are given by Abbott, which is followed, you will agree with me, they do not cover these two lower levels, but they are focusing on application and higher than application level. So the issue with us is how to ensure that the test items or questions which are included in the question paper, they test higher level abilities, or what other measures can be used to test the higher level abilities of the student. And it has been said, everybody spoke of 8 questions given, 5 are to be attempted. So the question of validity of the test. So the issue is, how can the validity of test, the written test, be increased or enhanced? Then the scores which are there of the student evaluation, there is hardly dependability on those test scores. When the students are joining us after completing their +2 and we raise very basic questions, we are actually surprised when the students are not able to answer the fundamental questions. They are not able to apply the knowledge which they have gathered at +2 level. So it becomes really difficult. So one wonders whether the scores truly reflect the learning or the attainment. Are they true indicators of the learning of the student? Then we also face difficulties because human beings, they are evaluating, and it is primarily the teacher who is assigned this responsibility of evaluating student performance in theory, in practical, in project, etc. And there is always a likelihood of some kind of subjectivity that creep into the evaluation system. It may be on account of the teacher factor, or it may be on account of the paper that is set or the criteria that has been set for evaluating student performance in various aspects of technical education system. So the issue which needs to be addressed is, how can one objectively assess the performance of students, or how subjectivity can be minimized? The next important issue which we all are concerned with, that there are a number of stakeholders. You have teachers, student, industry, personnel, society, they are all there. So what role the student, the industry personnel, the society can play in evaluation? Are they only, student need to be evaluated? Can't they do their self-appraisal, or can't they go in for peer appraisal and so on? Likewise, when the students go for industrial training or they take up real problems of the world of work, can industry be actively involved in the evaluation of student performance? then the society at large, can they be partner when the students are taking up socially relevant issues and problems? Can society be involved in the evaluation of student performance with respect to the problem they have addressed? Then how this total system of evaluation is managed, that is important aspect, because we come across that there are malpractices which are used in examinations, and people are coming out with alternate strategies to curb the malpractices. So what needs to be done? How malpractices in examinations or evaluation at the level of the students, at the level of the teacher, or maybe the people who are managing the evaluation system, they can be curbed, and how this evaluation system need to be managed so that it delivers and it remains valid, reliable, and objective. And another issue which comes to my mind is, when we are evaluating student performance, what role the feedback has to serve, and who should provide that feedback, what kind of feedback need to be provided to the student so that it ultimately leads to bringing improvements in the performance of the learner. There are many more issues related to evaluation, which I think the panelists today would be able to address, and it gives me immense pleasure in introducing to all of you a panel of 3 persons, and we have a very eminent academician, a visiting specialist, a consultant to many national and international organizations, including EDSEL, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Queensland University of Technology, Australia, and education project programs in South Asian countries. So I have a pleasure in introducing Professor M.M. Malhotra, the former principal of this institute, who has contributed. I would request the center to switch off the mic. Dr. Malhotra had his education and training in the field of civil engineering, earthquake engineering, education and management in India and USA. And he has a very high scholastic achievements, and is a recipient of number of honors and awards such as University Gold Medal, Chancellor's Medal, Silver Stick for the Best Officer Cadet, and Cadet, and membership of Kappa Delta Phi, an honor society in education USA. Sir has the honor of being a professor emeritus. We have only one professor emeritus, and sir has the honor of being professor emeritus of National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research. He has served the technical education system in India and abroad for more than 35 years in various capacities as a teacher trainer, curriculum planner, researcher, educational administrator, faculty consultant with Colombo Plan Staff College, and he has been visiting specialist and educational consultant, as I said, to large number of international organizations. His major experiences and contributions have been in the area of hydrodynamic pressure studies on submerged structures, technical manpower spectrum studies, and planning for training technical manpower, curriculum development, evaluation, instructional material development, research in technical education, design of training system, prediction and assessment, impact of educational innovation projects, education system analysis, including education sector studies, strategic analysis, restructuring technical education for building excellence, and policy research in technical education. Let me just inform the House that we at this institute owe our gratitude to sir, because we the youngsters have learned so much from Sir, and we always look up to him for any guidance or any clarification of doubt, or anywhere we are stuck up, we still approach Sir for his guidance and leadership. And it has been that when this building excellence in technical education, he was the leader of that team who submitted a document to Planning Commission as well as MHRD, Government of India. And he has also been instrumental in contributing his might to the national policy which evolved in 92, and for especially for the technical education system, and many other projects, including the World Bank assisted project. At present, he is also associated with number of TechUp institutions and universities, and acting as a mentor to number of institutions. In addition, Sir has published a large number of research papers and articles in both national and international journals, and number of reports. As I said, he has been instrumental in framing the policies and the programs which we offer at this institute. The master's degree program are actually his initiative, where he has worked very hard, taking the team along to design initially 2 programs in 1992. One was the Masters in Technical, the MTech, that is engineering education. Another was MTech program in manufacturing technology, and we started offering those programs. So the whole vision and the philosophy was Sir's vision and philosophy to give boost to the people who were actually working in the polytechnic education system and were stagnating or needed some additional education and training to deliver. So we are extremely thankful to him for giving a direction to us at that point of time, where the programs were very unique. They were actually modular, designed in such a manner that each course was independent, but at the same time, the focus was on industry-based and practice-based program. So we tied up with number of industries to give exposure to our ME students at that point of time. He has, to his credit, 2 textbooks and modules on research and other topics, in addition to a book on education and development in Lao People's Democratic Republic, for he was specially commissioned by the Asian Development Bank, Manila. I think, I don't know whether you people know about the research modules which have been written by Colombo Plan Staff College. They were published by CPSC, and the team comprised of, and he was very active member in producing those research modules. And these act like a Bible for us. We still use for our ME students. He has been, as I said, contributed, and today also he's with us for sharing his views on very important aspect, that is student evaluation. So welcome to the panel discussion, and we thank you for accepting our invitation to be with us this morning. The other 2 panelists with us today include Dr. Mrs. Bedi, professor in the Department of Education and Education Management. She joined this institute in 1984, and since then she has been contributing to the major 5 activities of the institute, including education and training, curriculum development, instructional material development, research and development, and also offered extension and consultancy services to number of organizations. She has large number of publications to her credit, and also attended number of international conferences where she had made a dent by presenting papers and contributing to the research in the area of technical education. She has guided number of students at the PhD as well as the ME level, MTech level, and she has also been at this institute assigned additional responsibility of Dean Research and Development for the past 1 year almost, and she's likely to take up this responsibility. And in addition, she's also the professor in charge for the student welfare activities which are being taken up at this institute level. I welcome Dr. Bedi as a panelist for today's panel discussion. And we have with us and my another colleague, Dr. Sunil Dutt, who joined this institute in 1992 after putting in almost 10 years in College of Education. And since 1992, again, Dr. Sunil has contributed immensely to the 5 major activities, and he has around 30 students who have done their doctoral work under his supervision. He has also guided large number of MTech dissertations, and he has also published more than 40, more than कहती हूँ तो it's a अथाह सागर, I don't know, but near about say 40 papers in national and international journals. He is also the CPIO of this institute, and he is also the professor in charge for the academic cell which looks after the admission examinations of the ME or MTech students. And he is also managing the total academic cell, looking to the scholarships, the stipends, and so on, as far as our ME programs are concerned. So I welcome Dr. Sunil to the panel, and I also extend welcome to all other members who are sitting at the network centers, who are going to be the presenters today. After the panelists make small presentations, will be followed by presentations by the network centers, and then we'll have the discussion. So as continuing with our effort, we took up a small study on perceptions of students regarding evaluation of student performance, but I'm not going to give you the details, but I simply go to the suggestions which have come up from the student side. Now, with respect to the criteria of evaluation, 1,400 students who gave us their perceptions, majority of them have said that there is lack of transparency in the system. The criteria for evaluation, especially when it comes to internal assessment, when it comes to the grading in one of the universities which we had, that was not explicit, and the students were not given adequate information regarding the criteria for grading and criteria for internal assessment. And all the students have said that evaluation of student performance need to be completely based on performance of the student, and there should not be any subjectivity creeping in the process of evaluation because of the relationship that a teacher enjoys with the student or student has with the teacher. And at the same time, they said that the criteria of handwriting, that should not be given any weightage as far as the knowledge testing is concerned. And they were of the opinion that rather than giving more weightage to theory, more weightage need to be given to the practical skills as well as some of the generic skills. And they said that when practical work or any assignment is given in group, then each member's contribution need to be evaluated. The group should not get equal marks, but individual contribution need to be taken into account and evaluation should be done. Then weightage to participation in co-curricular activities, because these days all institutions, they have co-curricular activities in the form of sports, clubs, etc. So they said the students who participate in co-curricular activities, they need to be given some weightage in their final certification. And the grading system, as I said, need to be very explicit. With respect to the management of examination, they said sometimes the senior students are made to supervise or invigilate. And in that case, there is a possibility of malpractice used by the student. So there is said seniors, they should not take the examination of the students, and there need to be a change in the pattern of question paper. So students said that more of objective type questions should be there, or short answer type question should be there, rather than the long answer type question or essay type questions. But when we are looking at the higher level abilities, I do not know how do we justify this. And then they said that there are number of tests which are taken by the institutes, and sometimes they are not given adequate preparation time. So they wanted adequate preparation time for the examination. The majority of the students said they're not using malpractices, or they're not incidents of malpractices, but students said there is a need to curb leakage of papers. There is need to manage or curb the use of malpractices by some of the students who indulge in these kinds of practices. And the last suggestion which came up from the student side was that student feedback with respect to the teaching effectiveness, teaching evaluation, that should be taken up, and it should be corrective. So corrective action needs to be taken at the institute level, at the teacher level. So these were some of the suggestions which we got from the student population, which was a part of our small study of 1400 students. With this background in mind, now I'll request Dr. Malhotra to share his views on the theme of the panel discussion.
Professor Tulsi, Professor Swam Bedi, Professor Sunil Dutt, and Professor Amandeep Kaur, and my fellow technical educators from the various centers. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you this morning to say a few words on student evaluation. Professor Tulsi has covered a lot what I wanted to really say. I think she has left very little for me to add to what she has said. She has brought out many issues in the area of student evaluation, which I do agree. I wish I could answer to many of those. I don't have a list with me. Maybe some other time, if time permits, I could speak on those issues. At the very outset, I think it is very heartening that the AICTE has tried to take an initiative to introduce outcome-based design of curricula of engineering programs. I think it is a follow-up of the Washington Accord and what the work has been done by ABET. It's also a pleasure for me to say that this outcome-based design of curriculum is not a new kind of things. We have been, and some of the sister knitters have been designing an outcome-based curricula for polytechnics since 1973. There is still no clarity about the design of outcome-based curricula because most of the institutions which I have visited in this country during my job as a performance auditor and a mentor, I found that the kind of an approach which is being followed in design of outcome-based curriculum needs to be improved to a great extent. It is also strange to see that the very definition of project the program educational objectives as outlined by the AICTE is not totally understood by the people. So is the case with the program outcomes. So there is need to be a clarity on these kind of things. And I would recommend that the institution should try to get a copy of the curricula developed at this institution, which are highly outcome-based curricula, supported by a complete implementation scheme in the form of teachers' manuals or teacher guides for each and every courses which have to be followed. And that will give a lot of information and guidance to the institutions who are entering into the challenge of designing outcome-based curricula. But the initiative is very good really, and I think this will go in big way, long way in trying to satisfy the requirements of the industry, which has been all these years trying to say that you are not producing engineering graduates to satisfy our requirements. Because an outcome-based curricula will try to write down the learning outcomes for each and every course which has been included in the program of any engineering discipline. And based on that, an evaluation, the instructional strategies, the evaluation, and the certification will be done. A lot of work has to be done really in this regard, how to go about in designing the instructional strategies to give life to those learning outcomes or the abilities which have been suggested by NBA, which is nothing but a copy of the work of ABET. Because those learning outcomes are very broad. And when it comes to designing an evaluation system, they will be of little help to anybody. As a matter of fact, program educational objectives are not written properly by the people, because that has to take into account the needs of the clientele base. And the clientele base is your industry, the students who are to enter and take up this particular program, and the societal needs where this engineering graduate will get in and try to do work. So all those things have to be taken into account. A highly research-based activity before you arrive at the program educational objectives, and from there the learning objectives or outcomes. So having said this kind of a thing, I think I need not deal with this thing. I got into the area of curriculum development itself, on which I think I would like to speak for about 3 hours, how to really design a outcome-based curriculum. There are so many models available today on outcome-based curriculum. For example, competency-based curriculum design is again an outcome-based curriculum. Then we have got, we named in 1973 a systematic design of curriculum is also an outcome-based design of curriculum. Then project-based design of curriculum is again an outcome-based design of curriculum. Problem-based design of curriculum is again an outcome-based design of curriculum. So which approach we need to follow is very important, or maybe different from all these approaches. CDIO is another approach, which is a recent one, is again an approach is very similar to what we did in 1973 at this institution and came out with system, but they have got some wonderful additions to what we had done in the form of introducing projects in every semester of the program. But I wonder, you see, I can't restrain myself, because the outcome-based curriculum itself, the very concept is very much misunderstood to my mind. When you say outcome-based curriculum, do you think the learning time required for every student will be the same? It can never be same. So how can you restrict the completion of all those learning outcomes in particular curriculum by saying it should be done in 4 years or 3 years or 2 years? So you can't do that. So it has to be a highly flexible type of a program depending upon the speed of learning of the student. So something which need to be considered when you are thinking of designing. an outcome-based kind of a curriculum. A very important point. Let us now, because the topic today is student evaluation, let me come to this student evaluation. What is the very meaning of the word student evaluation? Student evaluation is a systematic process. The first word, a systematic process of determining the extent to which the instructional objectives of any program have been achieved. Now, this is the meaning of the word evaluation, student evaluation. And there are two very importance in this, the word systematic and the word instructional objectives. It is systematic, that it is not casual. Anybody can start doing anything and write items for evaluation. He is bound by those instructional objectives. And instructional objectives come up with a definite outcome of students, learning outcomes. So it is systematic and it is trying to find out the amount or the number of instructional objectives, the extent of instructional objectives, the degree to which these instructional objectives have been achieved. Now the next question comes, and an issue, I add to an issue. Is instructional objective a one-time affair that is at the end of the instruction, or you are doing it in the form of continuous evaluation, giving some kind of, or there is something else different? I think instructional objective, this evaluation all through has been taking something extraneous activity to the teaching and learning process. It has been considered as extraneous. It has no linkage with the teaching and learning process. As a matter of fact, it is completely integrated. It should be integrated with the teaching and learning process and should have the capability to provide feedback to both the students as well as the teachers, and as well as to the institution as a whole, to support the achievement of those learning activities, learning outcomes. So it is a highly integrated process, and there are number of types of evaluation which need to be done as the instruction proceeds, as the sequence of instruction proceeds. Number one, it is called the placement test, placement evaluation. Why placement evaluation? There are many failures you find in the very first year of engineering. Have somebody thought why these failures take place? Because there is a mismatch between the entry behavior of the students and at the level that he starts taking up the courses of study in the very first year. There is a very big gap which nobody has tried to find out. So one has to assess the very entry behavior of students in terms of knowledge and skills and attitudes that he possesses, in terms of his interests and other human values. All these things need to be assessed, and one try to find out. And the biggest gap which I have tried to find out is the language itself. The language which has been used for instruction at the secondary level is very different than the language which is used in the engineering colleges. Right from a local language, it shifts to an English language, a very big gap. Then the gap comes in the area of mathematics and other physical sciences like chemistry and and physics. And those gaps have to be filled up. How can you fill it up? I think you can offer a bridge course, maybe 2 month bridge course or three months bridge course before you really accept him for entry into the program of education. So this is extremely important point, a placement test. Now the students are ready to take up your instruction properly. Whatever the teacher says in the classroom will not pass over his head or her head. So he will be recipient. He will be attentive to what the teacher is talking to say. And his achievement will be much better. The second is when the instruction really starts. The teacher has to come out with the monitoring of the progress of learning of the students. And that's what is called formative evaluation. It is a pity that NCERT, where all the educationists are there, they are using the word formative evaluation for grading of students. No. Formative evaluation is not to be used for grading of students. It has to be used to promote the learning of the students so that he attains those kind of outcomes, learning outcomes. And the feedback of the deficiencies in the learning of the student should be passed on to the student, to the teacher also, so that he may change his approach to teaching and he may adopt different methods of teaching or types of teaching. Maybe he may resort to independent study, or he may resort to a group teaching of students who are weak and combined with the students who have really achieved those outcomes in the form of remedial teaching. The concept of remedial teaching again is wrong, that the teacher comes in to take extra classes. No, I think you try to form the groups of students of those who have achieved the outcomes and who have not achieved the outcomes. And this will give a lot of motivation to the students who have achieved to teach those students who have not achieved. And look, by this kind of net, how much improvement in the learning will occur for both the student who is teaching and the student who is learning, because they speak the same kind of a language. So this is the second formative evaluation, no grading. And what type of a test we use? Because we are talking of learning outcomes. And learning outcomes means now there is a definite kind of outcome which we want student to attain. So all these tests will be constructed on those kind of learning outcomes. And these tests should be very frequent during the course of instruction. Not like 2 tests in a semester. There could be 6, 7 tests. Maybe a test after every topic is finished. Maybe a test after every unit is finished. So you try to take up these kind of tests and try to see where the students are weak and where they have picked up and they are strong. And you try to remove those weakness and come out with the requirement of equity. Equity is one of these dimensions of excellence, that every student will attain the same level of performance. Sorry. So this will help the students to attain mastery of all the learning outcomes during the very process of instruction itself. Now come the summative evaluation, the next one. Now this done at the end of the term primarily, again a concept which is the wrong concept. It is not only at the end of the program, it is also in between the course of instruction also. When you have completed a unit, you may conduct a test which tries to take care of all the learning outcomes relating to that particular unit or topic and try to see how much the students have attained. And then you grade them on that. Because once the grading comes into being, it means he is being assessed. Now, I think if one follow, and I think the students are very free to discuss with the teacher about their grading. That will try to bring in the transparency into picture. As Dr. Tulsi mentioned, that the students fear that there is some kind of missing of the transparency and subjectivity is brought in. So to remove that kind of subjectivity, let there be a free discussion between the student, and he can always approach the teacher and say you have not assessed me properly. So you can argue with the teacher, and the teacher may try to either satisfy the student with his assessment or try to change the assessment of the student. Then comes the summative evaluation, which is done at the end of this, I am trying to say, and that will cover the total learning objectives or learning outcomes relating to that kind of a course which he is teaching. The question here is, can he do that? At the end, no, he cannot do it. It's impossible. He has been doing all this thing by parts during the course of instruction. So at the end, he has to sample it out. And this is where this specification table comes into picture. And with the help of that specification table, he can try to have a representative test sample of all those learning outcomes and test the students in that in the summative evaluation. But is it the only way to test the students' summative evaluation? No, that is not the only way. There are other ways also. After all, when you are talking of a summative evaluation at the end of a term, it means it has to be very comprehensive to cover the total learning that has taken place during that kind of a semester for that particular course. So it can be in a number of ways done, not only through written tests. You can do a projects. You can do independent studies. Or you can do take-home tests, take-home assessment tests. So there are different kind of tools which can be used to take up this summative evaluation. And especially in engineering, I personally say, you can give them a small project. It could be individual project on design, for example. And if the student is able to do the design, which takes the requirement, learning of all those learning outcomes in this course, I think is a beautiful way, because number one, you are trying to satisfy the requirement of the world of work, because they require this kind of a competency from you. So on those broad educational objectives, you take into picture and try to design those kind of summative evaluation tests. Now come to certification. When you have done all these kind of assessments, you want to certify this thing. The present way is that you give a certificate that so and so has passed with the grade A or grade B or whatever it is, or with honors, whatever it is. This is once, and with that there is a grade mark sheet that the student gets, which gives the grades that he has obtained in each very subject. Now just think for a while, if somebody takes these two papers to the employer, can he understand anything from these two papers? That what are the kind of competencies this person hold? The employer will ask him only one question: please tell me what you can do. Don't give me these certificates, your honors, your first class and all those kind of things, but tell me what you can do. So along with that, there is a need to give a certificate which lists the competencies that he has attained. And if you can add that kind of a thing and the extent to which he has attained those kind of competencies, his rating, maybe on a 5-point rating scale or on a 3-point rating scale, the level at which he has attained those competencies. If you can attach that thing, any employer can see from that kind of a list and try to give job if it suits him or suits her, whatever it is. So you have to change that kind of a thing. Now, I will not say more than this, except that I will talk little about the tools that one can use. Not only written test. Written test is a very one small thing. There are a number of tools. For example, you know there are 3 domains which Bloom has tried to suggest: cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. Because India, the ABET has accepted this Bloom's taxonomy. The AICT has accepted this Bloom's taxonomy. I will not go away from this. But if you ask me personally, I have entirely a different view on this. There are good taxonomies available other than this Bloom's taxonomy, like Gagne. Gagne has given a wonderful taxonomy, which is far more easier to understand by any practicing teacher. There are very few levels of abilities that he has given, and which are highly practical, and they can be easily understood. Here in Bloom's taxonomy, you have now, it has become two-dimensional taxonomy. It is not a single-dimensional taxonomy. It is a two-dimensional taxonomy. And if you look at the verbs that they have used for writing the learning outcomes, sometimes they are very difficult and they are very confusing. So therefore, one can think of, I think you are all independent. You can think of using some other taxonomy also while writing your learning outcomes. Now, the kind of test that you have to be, as Dr. Tulsi mentioned, any test has to be valid and reliable. Valid means the very, I think you all know it, but I wish to repeat again, that test should be able to measure what you want to measure. In simple words, that is the definition of validity. There are so many types of validities. There is no time for me to go into that, but there is a meaning of that. And reliability means it's consistent. If I am testing you today with a test, and I test this, give you the same test tomorrow or after a month, your performance will be the same. It means it is consistent. That is the simple. Again, there are a number of types of reliability. So validity and reliability in simple words, these two words mean. And all your tests must be reliable. And valid is very important. Now for cognitive kind of, which takes care of the knowledge, you can use written tests, you can use drawings, you can use sketch tests also, because in engineering we use this kind of thing. You can use interviews, you can use projects, you can use assignments, home assignments, properly constructed. You can use independent studies, and you can use problem exercises. So number of alternatives are available to you depending on the learning outcomes. You can use this. For psychomotor, you can use observation schedules. You can use performance tests with checklist. And for effective, you can use observations, attitude inventories, and biography. Can I stop it? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. By giving awareness of the major theoretical issues pertaining to the evaluation and giving them the background to raise questions as to what needs to be done to ensure that all these characteristics are integrated into the student evaluation system. Now, friends, I call upon my faculty colleague, Dr. Mrs. S.P. Bedi, to focus on the student evaluation and the theory component.
Just a very good morning, everybody. All the panelists and participants at various centers. I think it's done. Height. So after listening to Professor M.M. Malhotra, our former principal, and I would say he is our teacher, we have learned a lot from him. There will be a number of things which he has made very clear, and you will excuse me for means repeating certain things as were also discussed in his presentation, and maybe some points also which were discussed in Dr. Tulsi's presentation. So in this small presentation, I will be discussing what is the revelations from first two panel discussions. Of course, Dr. Tulsi also made a mention of these two. Then how these evaluation and teaching, they are related. Types of evaluation, again, Dr. Malhotra has means touched these things at length, but I will also again means discuss these things. And finally, validity and reliability and how these concerns are there in the evaluation. So in the first two panel discussions on enhancing employability of graduates on 15th and quality of instruction yesterday only, there were a number of points which emerged from the discussions, but I am just restricting to what I feel can be taken in the evaluation parameters also, and how to some extent how we can come up from these things. Under enhancing employability of graduates, the person from industry, panelists from industry, they talked about that the students should have knowledge of basics. That's what they look for in the students, and most of the students, they don't have the knowledge of the basics. And once they have the basics, they should be able to apply the gained knowledge to the given situation. Then, of course, the other important thing which they said, that is the possession, because they should possess the soft skills. If I go to quality of instruction, the things which came out among others were that quality of teaching learning is dependent on evaluation, and there should be more emphasis on testing of lower abilities, that is, remember, not more emphasis, the emphasis is restricted to lower abilities only. Testing is on remembering and understanding only, and not the higher abilities which are required in the world of work. So how the quality of teaching learning is dependent on evaluation, I will just go by this triangle, which shows that teaching learning activities, evaluation and objectives, they are related. Now, how I want to like to describe it. Say you have 5 chapters in your syllabus, and the questions asked are the lower abilities only on remembering and understanding. I have 2 students, one who has learned the whole thing, and the other student who has learned the remembering and understanding. Now, the student who has focused only on remembering and understanding, he will be standing equally with the other student who has learned the whole breadth of the objectives. Now, what the message goes to, and if this type of practice, as we are seeing in the examinations, if this practice goes on, what message goes to the student? That, okay, as it was discussed yesterday also by the panelists, that, okay, it's good enough to be learning of these portions, that's good enough for the examinations. So, evaluation has affected the quality of the learning also. Now, the message, same type of message goes to the teachers also. We see there are maybe mass cuts are there, maybe, or other, for some other reasons, there are holidays on the on when a particular type of subject lectures allotted comes. So what happens? Teacher will say, okay, if I am going short of time, in any case, higher abilities are not going to be tested. So why spend more effort? First, you see that higher abilities preparation for teaching those things, that requires more effort on the part of the teacher also. So what message goes to the teacher? Okay, we can do away with such type of things. So this is how evaluation is affecting teaching learning activities also. Then I will just be repeating certain things which Professor Malhotra has discussed. That's the types of evaluation. Now, as sir said, formative evaluation. Now, this type of evaluation is very important. And rightly said, it's not to be used for grading the students. It is just, it has to be during instruction, and the purpose is to give feedback to the teachers and students about their strengths and weaknesses. Once the teacher knows about the weaknesses of the student, the teacher can change his or her methods of teaching and give such type of exposure to the students so that they learn more. So purpose for this is to provide the feedback to both of them. Now, this type of formative evaluation, this occurs moment to moment as part of instruction. And it is informal questions in the lecture. It can be in the form of quizzes, some homework assignments, answering student questions also forms part of this only. Then it can take in the form of weekly or fortnightly tests, as sir was mentioning that even after each means unit, each chapter, we can have such type of evaluation. Now, let me here mention how these things are very beneficial to the discussions which we had on the very first day. When we say weekly or fortnightly tests, the panelists were saying that students are not clear about even the fundamentals, even the basics of the subject. When there is a weekly or fortnightly test, only small portion of the subject area is covered. And when these tests become regular, what happens? They will prepare for those small tests. At times, teachers say that the work teacher load will increase with these type of weekly or fortnightly. I will say here, this can also be done away with the thing. You give a weekly or fortnightly test, because small portion is covered till that time. You just write the questions on the board and ask the students to answer there itself, and the peer evaluation, let the other student check the answer sheets of the other students. Now you get the right answers at the end, they check it and you have it with you, and just go through the answer sheets. You will find what type of mistakes students are doing, and for that matter, remedial instruction, maybe that they form the groups and they learn from each other also, or teacher can also brief about such things in that. Now there is another advantage of this type of thing. When you have the basics are clear, the rest of the syllabus demands that type of that type of basics to be used in the next few chapters. There are certain chapters which are certain subjects where the contents are interrelated also. When the basics are clear, that gives student motivation and confidence that okay, this much I know, now this much I can understand. Now when this type of thing, which is totally missing in our education system at present, when the student is not learning for say month or so, after that once he starts, then he says okay, I don't know, it's not understandable, and even the things which should be understood, he will start cramming or looking into the previous year's papers and just select few portions and just remember them and then put it in the final examinations. Now this type of formative evaluation so has an implication for the summative, that is the final evaluation also, because now students are clear. Students, I won't say that 100% of the students will be able to get, be very clear about the basics of everything, but we can definitely increase percentage of such students who are just not ignoring these things in the initial time. When the semester starts, students are a bit relaxed. But when these type of things just starts from the initial stage, beginning of the semester, we make them those students regular in their studies also. So in all ways, this type of formative evaluation helps in better understanding and better achievement of the final goals. Because formative evaluation is just to help the teachers and students for the better teaching learning. So we cannot aggregate or disaggregate and report the results. We can't go by that. And it's not a part of the summative evaluation. It's just for helping the students to learn the things. This taxonomy has already been discussed yesterday also. I'm just showing because I will be using certain these levels. I want to excuse from Dr. Malhotra. Of course, he just said that he has a difference of opinion, but I am just referring to that which is being used in the ABET. So more focus on remembering and understanding, and then application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, like that. Now, how the looking into the time constraint, I will not elaborate these things which can become part of the formative, which can help in a type of having a type of formative evaluation also. So if you go by think, pair, share, that is, you pose a question which is which require analysis, evaluation, or synthesis, or maybe even understanding. Give the student time to think, and then they pair and discuss the same thing, and they finally they can share in a group of 4 or with the whole class also. Then stump sure partner, here also a type of formative evaluation can be used. That is, in mid of your lecture, you may students are allowed to take a minute to create challenging question based on the lecture content up to that point, and then they pose question to the person sitting next to them. Ask students to write down these questions, because now students, from their understanding, they have generated the question that may further help them in learning these things also. And even teachers can use such questions in setting of papers also. There is another way of doing it, 1-minute papers. I won't spend much time on these methods, but just I am referring to these methods because they can help in becoming a part of formative evaluation. Then you may stop your lecture in between and just ask them what was most useful or important thing you learned today. So they may just say 1 or 2 things. They may not be knowing, they may be saying their answer may be partially correct, but that will help them, that will make them alert. And yesterday also when we were discussing number of questions, and the panelists' views were that the teacher is teaching and student is just the passive listener. So through this, student involvement is increased. So in these 3 methods, there is more involvement of the students are also given a chance to interact with their own friends also. So they are more comfortable while discussing with their peers and learning the things. Now, this was about the formative evaluation, which we are not, of course, going to use for the certification, that is helping students to learn the things. And also, on very first day when they said that the student should possess the soft skills, that is, they should be good in communication, confidence, teamwork, like that. Now, all these 3 methods, which become a type of part of which wherein we are using the formative evaluation technique, these are also helping students to develop their communication skills. When they are interacting in the class, they are developing confidence, and maybe when there is some group activity, they are also going for the teamwork also. So this, using more of formative evaluation in our system, will definitely help in, I won't say all the things, but in coming up to some extent to the expectations of the world of work also. Then the other is the summative evaluation. Of course, it comes at the end of a unit, which may be in terms of the sessional tests or semester only. Now, purpose here is to, as compared to formative, which we are not choosing it for the grading purposes, purpose here is to certify mastery of intended learning outcomes. Whatsoever learning outcomes we have laid down, for grading, for certification, we will be using this type of evaluation, and this type of evaluation is being used also. But what type of flaws are there and how we can improve on those things, I will just discuss those aspects here. Now, any good assessment tests other graded any type of evaluation. I would say here, irrespective of whether it is formative or summative, but more concern is for summative evaluation. It should be reliable and valid. This has also been explained, but I will just like to further go into that. Reliable means consistency. Now, I have during my different lectures on evaluation, I have seen when I ask the teachers that, okay, I have one answer sheet, maybe on say surveying paper. So I get it photocopied and give to 5 different teachers to that. Will they give the same marks? They said no. And I said, okay, because they said because all teachers are having different perceptions about the answers. Okay, I said, I go further. The same photocopy, photocopied answer sheet, you evaluate on different intervals. Will you give the same mark? They said no. And I said, okay, answer sheet is same, paper is same, question paper is same, evaluator is same. Just because the time is changing, why you are changing your evaluations? Now, this type of consistency is not there as far as inter and inter-rater variabilities, marking variabilities are concerned. There are certain reasons for this thing, that even the basic thing, this type of reliability should be there. That's not there, and that's affecting summative evaluation. I have seen, I conducted one of the study wherein even for the theoretical papers, mathematical papers, in the re-evaluation, marks were raised in the tune of 16 to 20%. So means if the person is having a distinction, that might be changed. So reliability is that it should work consistently. Then the other aspect which is important and mentioned by Dr. Tulsi and Dr. Malhotra is the validity. That is, evaluate what we intend to evaluate. Means any other thing, maybe vocabulary, maybe any type of help given to any particular student will disturb the validity. And most important there is the choice. When we say attempt any 5 questions out of 8, as was coming in the yesterday's discussions also, it's a common trend that attempt any 5 questions out of 8. Validity, you can't have valid results. There may be 2 students, one student who has learned the whole subject, the another student who has learned the only 4 subjects, 4 chapters. Both of them will get the equal marks just because we have given the choice. So our papers will not then give us the valid results. Sir made a mention of table of specifications. I am just going, how it is developed, I am not going into that. I am just taking it, showing it, say, the values given, they are totally hypothetical. They are not the real, which might have been given in any subject in the chemistry and for polytechnic or engineering level. Now here, if your syllabus says that if we talk into terms of learning outcomes or objectives, you see this, there is certain weightage which should be given to the remembering and understanding. Then application, HA is remembering, understanding, applying, analyze, and HA I am representing by analyzing, evaluating, creating. Now as far as remembering and understanding is concerned, what we have seen is the teachers still can prepare the questions. When I come to application, and especially to the higher application, that is creating certain things, that is analyzing, that is evaluating. Even I would say the teachers are not able to construct items for such levels. So if we really want that, when we are saying that we are testing only remembering, understanding, then we must have the teachers who are able to write questions and who are able to score them also. Especially when we come to the creation type of level, there will be different correct answers. So the teacher should be ready for those different types of answers which are equally correct. They may form certain criteria for giving part marking for those type of things. And for such type of situations, even open book examinations can be used. For remembering, understanding, of course, closed book examinations can go on, but for higher applications especially, we should have the open book examination system. So open book tests, they are good for applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating, and teachers should be trained to test such things. Closed book examinations, they are good for remembering, understanding. Of course, they can also take care of the others also. Now, why I am saying that the teachers should be trained in this, when we were having certain courses and the table of specification was made, and when I asked teachers to write questions on that, the teacher said, okay, this is my synthesis level or creation level question. This is my application type of lecture. When we discussed, it was only the understanding level type of question. So here we need, if we really want that the higher abilities are to be tested, then our teachers are also to be trained for such aspects. There are certain drawbacks. This has come from our own studies conducted at the institution level. One among them was conducted under the guidance of Dr. Malhotra only, content analysis of examination papers. And later on, some of our ME students have also conducted content analysis of certain examination papers of their states. From all these studies, it emerged that these are encouraging partial studies by students, especially because of the choice in the examination papers. Then the emphasis on the lower level abilities, which has already been mentioned. And this is also coming from the faulty framing of questions. So generally we have these type of questions. Madam Tulsi said in the beginning that students want that objective type questions should be there. Here again, I will like to make a mention that if objective type, and especially if we are going to have the multiple choice of questions, again the teachers are to be trained for writing those type of questions. The inward tilt of the kingpin is called. Now kingpin, the person who doesn't know the answer can immediately get a hint that kingpin is coming from there. The better would have been that here kingpin is not the right answer. So while framing questions, teachers had to be particular about it. Short answer questions, again, when we say what is Pascal's law, this means there the answer is not clear. This once the one student may write only the definition and derivation, another student write the application. For such type of questions, likewise for the essay types, when we say what to understand and all, I have again taken in my courses, I have again taken such type of questions from different disciplines and given to 3-4 teachers. And the scope of the answer from the various teachers, that was different on these lines. That is, what is expected in the answer? Is the definition adequate? Is the mathematical expression required, or the sketch and everything is required? So that that came out in their discussion. Point is, these things, even such type of questions, I won't go why these things are happening, but teachers are frequently using these type of questions in the final examination papers. And they, because these things are also affecting the reliability also. Why there were differences from one sitting to another? Why there were differences from one examiner to other? Because the scope of the answer thought by them, that varied. Not only that, say in the very first paper, all aspects are there, but who thought of, what the teacher evaluator might thought of. In the subsequent answer sheet, the evaluator starts looking for all those aspects. And if in the very first chapter those things are not there, then the expectation of the answer of the answers for various questions then changes. So this has to be taken care. Then only we can come out with reliable, valid type of evaluations. Thank you with this. just मैं बस बंद करके जा रही हूँ। कॉपी कर रही हूँ वीडियो उतारता।
Thank you very much, Dr. Bedi, for highlighting the bases which should be considered in the student evaluation system and how one should go about setting a question paper, keeping in view the teaching learning strategies and the learning outcomes. Now, friends, I call upon the third panelist, Dr. Sunil Dutt, to focus on how the evaluation of student performance in practical work, what are the major issues and what needs to be done.
ठीक है, चलेगा। Respected Professor M.M. Malhotra, Dr. P.K. Tulsi, Dr. Bedi, Amandeep Kaur, and other panelists and colleagues at various network centers. Good morning to all of you. Friends, the main aim of education in general and of technical education in particular is harmonious development of learners. And developing students harmoniously means developing their capabilities in intellect and non-intellect areas. And these areas are concerned with knowledge, skills, and attitude. Knowledge means what does someone need to know in order to do a job, that is the theory part. Skill means what does a person need to be able to do, that is which requires hand and head coordination, that is the skill part. And the third component is the attitude, that is what sort of approach to his work does a person doing that job need to have. So all the three components are very much essential for the harmonious development of learners. The assessment of knowledge is taken care of by theory subjects, theory papers. And when it comes to assessment of student performance in practical work, project work, or say field work or workshop, etc., teachers cannot rely on the paper pencil test, that too administered on a group basis, as the only basis for measuring their performance. Teachers need to observe students' behavior, their performance on a day-to-day basis, and use these observations as part of student assessment. And the evidences on the assessment will be more valid, more reliable, more relevant than the paper pencil test. So in this particular presentation, I'm going to talk about the performance and the issues related to measurement of performance. So performance, firstly, it is observable manifestation of knowledge, understanding, ideas, concepts, and skills, and so on. Why? What do I mean by observable manifestation? That is something happening that people can see that it exists. So a prototype situation for measurement of student performance is the individualized test setting in which a student is given a task. Task could be about solving a problem, identifying a malfunction, making a decision, implementing a decision or a solution. When the student is performing, he is being judged by the teachers or the industry personnel. They are using a checklist to record and evaluate each step in the performance. You have to be very careful that you have to see the performance during the during the working of that particular project. Students may or may not be aware that their performance are being measured. Now let me give you one example. For example, the the performance objective could be that given a balance, a metal, a set of known weights, the student will be able to demonstrate the use of balance for weighing 3 objects of unknown weights, and unknown weights number of can be given in 15 minutes with no errors while following the procedure. So it means you need to prepare a checklist. You have to see student performance on various dimensions. Likewise, there are going to be other problematic area. Demonstrate the procedure of the verification of Ohm's law. Demonstrate a procedure for tuning a car. Construct a cubic meter out of a cardboard, or demonstrate the procedure of determining the strength of a given solution of acid. Now, coming to the practical work and project work, certain issues come to our mind. Firstly, what evaluation tools do we employ for measuring the performance of the students in practical work, in laboratory? How do you ensure the validity and reliability of these tools? What components do you observe for assessing practical and project work? You need to see. What activities do you observe for assessing performance of the task? What do you observe for judging the quality of the product the student has completed? What behaviors do you expect your student to exhibit while assessing their performance? And what sort of viva voce do you conduct for the assessment of practical or project work? So we need to focus on these aspects. We need to prepare a criteria. We need to prepare some checklist or rating scale for measuring the student performance. Now, practical work in laboratory. Actually, practical requires some kind of manipulation of say apparatus, or say some action on material, and involve direct experiences of learners with materials or with events at hand. So the basic objective of practical work is to provide opportunity to the students for direct experience, the development of the intellectual as well as the motor skills, which lead to the development of desirable work related attitude or behavior. And the assessment can be carried out through observation of performance on task, judging the quality of the product, observing general behavior, conducting the viva voce test, and providing feedback to the individual student. So I have prepared this particular presentation on the basis of what Professor M.M. Malhotra and Dr. P.K. Tulsi have prepared one module on student internal assessment. Now, observation of student performance on task job requires the ability to follow correct process, read drawing, observe, read and compute, draw conclusions, assessment of manipulative skills, handling of machine, or you can say tool and material, to what extent they are observing the safety rules, their ability to use the material very you can say economically, and the timely completion of the job. Then the criteria for judging the quality of product, because quality of product can be determined on the basis of satisfying certain specification. Specification could be dimension, the shape, the finish, or the tolerance limit. And in order to ascertain that the students have developed right kind of professional attitudes toward practical work, so we need to include the components of attendance, punctuality, care of tools, care of working space, use of material, working time, attitude towards friends, responsibility, and independence. And at the end of the practical work, a viva voce test is conducted in order to ensure that the students have understood the process of the operation, related concepts and principles, and they have also acquired accepted level of critical judgment or interpretation capability. And there could be some additional factors if the practical work is assigned to the students in the groups. Then the additional components to be assessed are the cooperation, sharing of responsibility, material, information, and participation in the discussion. Then coming to project work. Project work is nothing but an extended piece of work which may last from 1 day to 1 month to few months, involving students singly or in groups in the investigation or study of a situation or problem or creating a new object. And the basic purpose is to promote the development of creativity, because the people, different students with different knowledge and abilities, they work together. So job commitment, problem solving skills, learning to learn skills, and also it facilitates the cooperation among students and provides opportunities for improving their communication skill, because once the project work is over, they are required to write down the project report and they will make a presentation. So in this way, their written communication, their speaking skill will be improved. Now, the appraisal to include the capability in the selection of a problem for the project to design, and planning of project, conduct of the project, report writing, and presentation of the report. Now let me take these one by one. First is the selection of the problem for the project. Now at this stage, a student is expected to collect and analyze information, select appropriate design or strategy, select material, estimate cost, prepare a work plan to carry out the project. So the components which need to be assessed during the selection and definition of the problem include the student contribution, as far as his initiative, his interest, his imaginativeness, and the nature of the problem, that is whether the problem is relevant, it is novel, original, and the degree of challenge involved. Then at the planning stage, we need to assess whether the student has rightly defined the project problem, whether the problem in itself is accurate, whether it is appropriate relating to the outcome specifications. Then the methodology of conduct of the project, whether the methodology selected is appropriate, whether it is feasible, is there any is the method clear to him. And we need to also include the components of general behavior, that is his initiative, his resourcefulness, reasoning ability, imagination, creativity, and self-reliance. Now at the execution stage, a student is expected to carry out procedure as per the plan he has made at the planning stage. So the components of assessment include the ability to follow correct procedure, his manipulative skills, ability to observe, record, and interpret, ingenuity in the use of material and equipment, and the target achievement, that is the product or the outcome. Okay, and it also includes the general behavior, that is his perseverance, interest, commitment, confidence, problem solving, decision making ability, etc. Then he is expected to write the report on report about the problem, how he has designed it, how he has carried out, and the findings. So quality of report is assessed in terms of clarity in presentation and organization, style and language, quality of diagram, drawing and graphs, accuracy of conclusion drawn, citing of various references, suggestions for more, you can say, improvement or suggestions for further research. Report writing and presentation of project report would include the quality of presentation, and here we can assess the students' level of understanding of concepts, design, methodology, results, implication, and ability to draw conclusions and the generalizations. Additional factors: if the project work is carried out in a group, then the components to be included for assessment of student performance would be the team spirit, sharing of material, participation in discussion, completion of individual responsibilities, etc. And the quality of product. If he has prepared or he has developed some product, maybe a drawing sheet in the drawing class, that is also a product. So the components of assessment would include the dimension, the shape, the tolerance limit, cost effectiveness, marketability, and the modernity. So as a teacher, we need to design a checklist or the rating scale, which would include, first of all the components which are very much essential for carrying out the practical or the project work. And then these need to be validated, and these need to be made reliable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sneel, for bringing out the various components and the elements that should be used in assessing student performance in practical work. Now, it is time for us to listen to the various network centers. So I first of all would request Gandhi Academy of Technology and Engineering, and the person who's going to make a presentation. Are you ready, sir? Gandhi Academy of Engineering, Technology and Engineering. So there are 3 persons who have made the presentation. So I'll request Mr. Manmohan Patnaik to kindly make the presentation. Over to Gandhi Academy of Technology and Engineering. Am I audible? No response? They are not there? Okay, over to Gandhi Engineering College. May I request Professor Suren Kumar Sahu to kindly make a presentation on evaluation of student performance. Gandhi Engineering College, Bhubaneswar. Deepika, are they there? नहीं, गांधी इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज और गेट, पहले तो गेट वाला सी ना, उधर देखो गेट वाले तो है. हाँ जी. Can I request Mr. Manmohan Patnaik? Are you ready, sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
I'm.
And I have only one request to make. Please restrict yourself to 15 minutes, 10 to 15. Fine?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Hello.
Anji, please, you are audible.
Hello. Good afternoon, madam.
Anji, good afternoon.
This is Bhavani Prasad Misra. This is Bhavani Prasad Misra from Berhampur.
Fine. Go ahead.
As good afternoon, sir and madam, all those who are giving good deliberation, and I am as a faculty and examination in charge. Whatever problem we are facing and what are the things we are observing, I am giving briefly about this matter.
Okay.
Evaluation process plays a vital role for any university, as a university mainly deals with the education system, examination system, and research and development. Evaluation of students' performance in theory. In step 1, we can say 30 to 50% of marks should be provided by the university through online internal assessment. There should be a question bank where renowned professors will put their questions subject to approved by the approval committee of the university. For example, if a student will give his or her thumbprint or thumb impression in the college randomly, 20 to 30 questions of same weightage will be displayed on the screen from the question bank of the university server. He or she has to answer the questions within the time mentioned. a result will be displayed after the completion of the internal examination. There will be no harm if internal for same subject will continue for 2 to 3 days. This process could be viewed at the university through CCTV. Here is the merit you can get. No malpractice, as Madam Tulsi Madam mentioned before starting this panel. Malpractice is the very problem in university examination. So no malpractice possible, and all the students will attend the internal examination. Centralized CCTV, deputed supervisor, they will view the examination pattern through the video conferencing mode sitting at the university for the theory examination. Every invigilator should be provided with a mobile phone, and that number will be displayed in the picture screen in front of the examination room or examination control room. The university should send their question through online just before half an hour with the user ID and password. In second pattern, this all pattern for the internal in the BPD or main exam pattern, we can go for that is 70 to 50% of the mark should be provided by the university through hard copy. The questions should be sent online to the different institution before half an hour of the examination. Hard copy should be scanned and uploaded in the examination valuation portal for the university website. When examination is over, question and answer will be available by the examination portal in the database of the university. Then next part is the evaluation process. In the evaluation process should be 2 stages in our concern. We think that 2 stages for the subject. First method we can say 2 evaluators will evaluate the same subject online separately. If the marks vary by minimum 30% after the comparison, then that will be go to the chief evaluator to decide final mark. Otherwise, the highest mark is the final. And second method, if evaluated by a single faculty through online, that is another method. In both the cases, student may download the answer script of his or her own along with model answer directly from the database. And the recorrection can be done by the concerned faculty, by own college and other college. Finally, the head of the institution will send the rechecked copy to the university. Here you can get the merit. Transparency will be the more, student will read better because answer script is open to view for all. If the difference of marks after evaluation will be more than 30%, then the university should give a stricture to the faculty not to repeat the same mistake in future for both the cases. For repeated mistake, he or she should not be allowed for evaluation. Simultaneously, he or she should be deregistered from the university as a faculty. Then evaluation of student performance in practical works, as we mentioned, practical work should be evaluated by an academician and person from the industry or a relevant subject. There will be a lottery system for practical or sessional examination. Experiments should be done in the presence of 2 external evaluators, that is one person from the industry and another from the academician. Evaluation of student performance in project works. Project work should be carried out in industries and the marks should be provided by the industry people. Project ideas should be abstracted from the students from the second years onwards. At least 2 semesters or more than that should be provided towards the project work for the student. Then evaluation of student performance in the industrial training. If the industries will permit to open engineering college of relevant subjects, then we hope industrial training is not at all required. As we know that relevant industries to expedite evaluation process, the university should release the remuneration to the evaluator on priority basis, which will inspire the faculty to evaluate in systematic and quick manner. This is our idea, or we think this is the process we can add out. If some malpractice is happened, the instruction directly come from the university to the individual faculty, those who are making invigilation duty through his mobile phone, and the control is controlled by the university through a centralized room. That is the first practice for the theoretical evaluation process, so that we think that malpractice can be eradicated and the good product or students can come out. If you attach industries in a examination academic view, then constant like your medical students. Hospital is attached to the medical college, so that student can do the practice in his medical or hospitals. Like that, if some industries open engineering colleges relating its subjects, then students can better benefits and upgrade as per the demand and as per the demand of the markets. As we know, students are reading in mechanical, so for example, mechanical subject, steam engine right now, but bullet train is in market. Or student must read the bullet train concept, so that their knowledge can enhance and some research can be done properly. This is my point in this regard. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak something in this panel.
Okay. Anji, thank you, Mr. Mishra, for giving us some of the very pertinent suggestions related to the changes that should come into the written examination, the practical work, the industrial training, and the project work. And you have tried to give a very strict duty to the teacher by allowing the university to issue the strictures if he or she doesn't give a consistent result and there are marked deviations. I think somewhere we need to train our faculty in designing the question paper, framing the questions, and then also preparing the model answers, how to distribute the marks in the question paper, and then giving a model answer, also specifying. I think if we go in that direction, we may be able to improve upon the theory component. Now, thank you very much. Now I move on to the Women's Polytechnic, Thrissur. May I request Miss Nina, lecturer from the Women Polytechnic College, Thrissur, to kindly make the presentation on student evaluation. Again, disconnect हो गया. अभी दोबारा देख लो, आ जाएंगे. Or may I request in the meantime the Chandigarh University, Mr. Sunny Wig, to kindly make a presentation, quick presentation on the student evaluation component. Which college is the CU? Okay, Mr. Sunny Wig is there.
Ma'am, Dr. Akhil Gupta will present presentation. He's just in a minute. He's coming actually, ma'am. So he will give a presentation.
No, he's coming. In the meantime, I'll request Ms. Shalini Sharma from Dronacharya Group of Institutions to go ahead with the presentation. Then we'll come back to CU and the Women's Polytechnic. Thank you, Dronacharya, Shalini. Thank you, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you, please go ahead.
Presentation.
Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to present the topic of students' evaluation criteria. My presentation.
Ma'am, are there no
It's based on the student evaluation criteria, and my presentation will cover the following subtopics. Now, what is the evaluation? Evaluation is the systematic investigation of determining the merit of something in relation to established benchmarks using assessment information. Means it's a process of making a judgment about the meaning of the data gathered.
Ma'am, PowerPoint presentation share नहीं हुई है, screen sharing करा दीजिए.
Okay, ma'am. Please.
Screen share कर लीजिए.
Ma'am, please wait. We are doing it. Please just one second.
चलो आप continue करो. In the meantime, they'll be able to do that. So continue कर लीजिए.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Information. Ma'am, now it's share.
Yeah, it is shared now. Go ahead.
So now, Okay. Yeah, we need to establish clear learning goals. This allows to prepare lessons in advance and support those goals and leads to fair evaluation. For this, what are the learning objectives? The learning objectives are goal statements which include specific measurable performance outcome of the learners. Second, the learning objective is a process of collecting evidence of how much students have learned. Like assessment should reveal how well students have learned what we want them to learn. For that, how can we order learning objective? One taxonomy of cognitive level for learning objective was proposed by the Bloom's in 1956. He says that we should actually divide all the learning objective with state by state. Like first it should be start with the recall, then understand, apply, analyze, evaluate and create. Like say if we are going for a theory type of question, there are long type of question, essay type, short questions will be descriptive, definition based, multiple choice questions and filling the blanks. Then how the question will be arise, assessment question should be also with different levels. So what will the levels? So they are saying in cognitive levels, these are the different levels. Like in recall, we can create some questions like short type of questions, list or define, and understand type of questions. And in long and essay type of question, we can, write down some evaluate or analyze, like examine these theorems and all. Second is the practical evaluation. The practical evaluation depends on the observation techniques. Make sure what and how the students are performing their practicals. Ma'am, we actually do evaluate the practical in two terms. First is the oral assessment and second is the observation technique. In oral assessment, we draft the question bank in advance and check the reliability of the test questions. Second, indicate the format and the marking schemes. In observation technique, we need to check the students' way of doing the practicals. And for that, we actually create the checklist and the rating scale. Within the checklist, it's a comprehensive list of important or relevant attributes or steps to be taken in a specific order. And there should be yes or no marking over there. And in rating scales is a method that requires the rater to assign a value to the rated objects as a measures of some rated attributes. Based on the attributes, we can assign the number to the students, like good, very good, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like this. Next one is the object evaluation. Project evaluation. In project evaluation is the process of determining the worth or value of the project. There could be a number of different type of projects like learning projects, exposition projects, work-based or task-based projects, problem-solving projects or independent learning projects. So they are the few key elements we need in the projects, like financial viability, originality, uselessness of society, customer and applicability, and sustainability. So in criteria for the evaluation of projects, we 100% divide into different sections, like planning 10%, execution will be 30% marks, quality of product or report will be on 40%, and presentation or viva will be based on the 20%. Now next is the industrial training. So first we need to find out what is the learning objective for the industrial training. This could be first, we want the students to be exposed to the industry environments which cannot be simulated in the classroom. The next could be describe the aspects of engineering works and how engineers' works are managed. Then distinguish the roles of engineering in the workplace, cooperate with others as a teamwork, determine how to solve engineering problems by applying technical knowledge in practice in real industrial situation, because this is the main concern for our computer science students. Next, to use the experience gained from the industrial training in discussion held in the lecture rooms, to gain experience in writing reports in engineering works, to expose the students to the engineering responsibilities and ethics, to expose the students to future employers, and get exposed to the current technology developments relevant to the subjects area to which the training pertains. Now, the industrial training evaluation is divided into two stages. First, they will be evaluated by the industry. They have their certain criteria. The next will be evaluated by the institute level. We actually go through with the seminar, presentation or viva. First will be done by the industry. They could be used their criteria based on punctuality, skill set, like this. But in the institution level, actually what we want, the student will present his report through seminar. In the evaluation through seminar, presentation will be based on the following criterion. First, quality of the material presented, proper planning for presentation, effectiveness of presentation, and depth of knowledge and skills. Second, the attendance record, departmental reports shall also be analyzed along with the training reports. Why? Because seminar presentation will have advantage of sharing knowledge and experience amongst students and teachers and building communication skills and confidence in students. So in training report evaluation criteria, I just mentioned the training report will be evaluated on the basis of the following: originality, very adequate and purposeful write-up, organization, drawings, sketches, format, style, languages, variety and relevance of learning experience, the practical application and their correlation to the basic theory and concepts. Now, next is our assessment. What is the assessment? It's a process of collecting evidence of how much students have learned. Means assessment should reveal how well students have learned, what we want them to learn with the help of the learning objective. Because first we need to find out the learning objective, and based on those learning objective, we have to process, evaluate, create our assessment, and then evaluate the students. In assessment, the process of gathering data about the students' performance using various tools like teacher observation, activities or quiz to capture what the students know and to understand. So these are the current trends of assessment, like assessing the students through written assignment, essay, oral presentation, portfolio of work, short answer questions. Even now on, we are doing some research on assessment procedures and methods. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shalini, for giving us and sharing the information regarding the practices which are adopted by Dronacharya Group of institutions. And I would request you to kindly send us some of the checklist rating scales which you are using at your end for the benefit of other participants. So we would like to include in the proceedings of the panel discussion. So thank you very much. Over to Anisha. Are you there? Women Polytechnic College. Can we listen to Miss Neena? Are you ready, or there is no presenter here?
Yes, we are ready.
Women's Polytechnic.
Yeah, we are ready.
And we are not getting audio. So
Yes, madam, you're right.
We have with us the head of the Department of Computer, Viju sir.
okay. So welcome, and you have a small presentation on student evaluation.
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We are introducing two kinds of innovative ideas in evaluation of theory subjects. One is we are proposed to give assignments individually to every students. That is, a topic is given to each student separately, and also they are compelled to submit their assignments through email IDs. That's why the students will be familiar with the usage of personal computer and email usages, because these are the new trends in the academic system. And also, since we are giving separate subjects to each student, there's no chance for copying the data in between the students. That's why this may be preferred in the evaluation of theory subjects through assignments. And also the scores, as the modern trends in the IT sector, most of the scoring is done by giving star rating to any area, that means products and as well as the academics in the grading system also. So here also we are proposed to give the scores in number of stars, single star, double star, triple star, and so on. According to the number of stars, the students will be graded at the end of the semester. Now, this is a different concept we are proposed to implement it next year onwards for theory evaluation. Again, one more concept we have already implemented last year in this college in the evaluation of project works. We are selecting a small project work subject, and here also each student is working on her individual project. That's why they will be eligible to study about the system, how a project work is implemented from the starting to the end of the project work. All students become aware about the various steps in the project work, because whenever they are going out of the campus, they should be able to work with a project team in their future life. That's why we are opting this kind of methodology here. So individual project to each student, that is the concept we have already successfully implemented last year in our department. And also, at the time of evaluation, we are telling them to modify some part of the source code. That's why we can assure their role in the development of the project work. That is also success for up to the mark during the last year, and most of the students was capable to handle their projects by their own. And also, if you are selecting a team of students for the project work, usually that is the practice in most of the colleges, then some of the students will set aside of the team, and no participation will be there in their group of study, group work. That's why we are opting this kind of methodology. And these two ideas, one is already implemented in our college, and the other is we are proposed to implement in the next year. Hope these are two innovations in the evaluation of students, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. I think the two innovations which you say, that is assigning different assignments to the different students so that there is no copying, and then the grading is done on the basis of the stars assigned. I hope the star criteria is clear to the student. One star stands for, 2 stars stands for, and so on. And then you have taken up individual projects. But I think when we look to the world of work, this may be very good when you are trying to develop the confidence and every individual student works on an individual project. But at the same time, you need to prepare your students from the teamwork, and there are ways and means where you assign individual responsibility to student and then see what actual contribution the person has made to the project. So maybe you can think of moving from individual projects to group projects or team projects, and then assessing individual contribution to the teamwork. Thank you very much. Now I request if we are ready with the Dronacharya group of institution. Ji, go ahead. May I request Ms. Shitya Paul.
Hello, good morning, madam. I am Kshitija Paul from Dronacharya College of Engineering, is giving you a presentation on student evaluation.
Anji.
There is a very popular slogan for the teacher is the Guru Devo Brahma. So it is our moral responsibility to fairly justify each students. We can evaluate the student in term of the following the agenda. So the sum of the agenda is evaluation of the student performance in theory, evaluation of student performance in practical work, evaluation of student performance in project work, industrial training. Now let us first see the principle of the assessment. So some of the principle of the assessment is to improve the student performance. The student performance can be improved if we take the test on the unit on the periodic basis, and its result should be discussed with the student so that the student have a chance to improve in the next test. The next principle for assessment is the assessment should be based on understanding on how the student learn. For taking every test, the topic should be topic of the unit test should be discussed with the student, so that the student can prepare and give the test. So after evaluating the test, we also understand where the student lacks on the particular topics, and that same topics, if necessary, will be discussed again. The next point is the assessment should be an integral component of the course design and not something to add the afterward. For that, it is necessary that the what should be the assessed of each topic. This should be planning should be done before the start of the session, and what planning we have done, we should be strict, and the what content we are it should not be beyond the syllabus. The next point is the good assessment require the clarity of purpose, goal, standard, and the criteria. Here the purpose should be the student should gain something from the from each assessment, and they can improve themselves. The last point is assessment method used should be valid, reliable, and consistent. Whatever is the assessment criteria we have decided, it should be the valid. It means that the each unit test marks should be included at the end of the final evaluation also. Next. So now let us first see the first agenda. That is evaluation.
Slide change नहीं हो रही है, slides change कर लीजिए. Yeah. Fine. It is okay now.
Now let us first discuss the first agenda, that is the evaluation of student performance in theory. We can evaluate the student performance in a theory by the various ways. Some of the ways here are the case study, real-time application. Student can be able to solve the case study and the real-time application if they know the content of the test topics. Then only they can be able to solve it. Group solving problem. The next one is the objective question. Student can be able to solve the objective question only if they prepare the topics in depth. So after getting the result of each objective question, the student knows how much we have to study in depth. PowerPoint presentation builds the confidence in the students. Assignment and unit test should be done at the end of the each unit. Unit test should cover the short type question, long answer, and it should cover also the problems. Next. Now let us see how we are evaluating students' performance in the practical work. We can evaluate the student performance in practical work after the end of each practical works. Each practical work should get the equal marks. So here we can evaluate each practical work in the following parameter. Some of them are the understanding the problem, how the student develop the logics, how the student implement the particular practical works, flow of practical works, what is their observation about the current practical, and what is the expected output, whether the student able to produce the expected output, what will be the result after changing the input. Next time. Now the third one is the evaluation of student performance in the project work. Here the evaluation of student performance in project works challenges the student to think beyond the boundaries of the classroom, helping them to develop these skills, behavior, confidence, and necessary for the success in the futures. So we have to evaluate the project work in such a way that students should be able to think higher order. So for that we have to provide the feedback also. The project work should not be evaluated in only one exam. It should be on the month-wise basis. So the project work should be evaluated in terms of the problem statement, what is the unique feature in the project, content knowledge, collaboration and the teamwork, how the student will work together and what is their individual contribution, technology and the communication, quality, what is the quality of the project they are carrying out, and what is the accuracy of the project. Okay. Now the next, evaluation of student performance in the industrial setting. So here to evaluate the student performance in the industrial setting, first we need the feedback from the industry. So the feedback from the industry should include some of the following topic. What is the discipline, how they behave in the industry, communication, what is their communication with the manager, what is the quality of the project the student actually carried in that industry, assessment of the project carried out, how the industry carried the assessment of the particular project, review document prepared by the student, and testing of the project at the industry. Once we get the feedback from the industry, now at the college level we can arrange the seminar, and in the seminar we can check the performance of the student in industrial training based on the introduction given by the student, the industry and the organization background, training details and the overview, report format, presentation, scope of deployment of that of the project. On this basis we can evaluate the performance of the student in the industrial training. Now some of the current trends in the assessment are the think, pair, share. Think, pair, share is one of the assessment technique where the student are asked the question. They have given the particular short time where they can solve the problem. The same problem, then they are allowed to discuss with their peer about their answer, and the student can conclude the final answer. It is very helpful if it is to be done in a large classroom. So the discussion should be done on a particular topic. Now the next one is the peer assessment. In the peer assessment is mainly useful for the quantitative exams where the student will write the answers, and the peer student assess their assessed it. Now the next one is the flipped classroom. Flipped classroom is also the useful one where the student build the ability to learn to hear the videos, and then they can in the classroom the problem can be solved. Debate, some of the remaining are the debate, multiple choice question, and the group discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I have a question. You have said should be done. Are these criteria being followed in your institution?
Yes, it is done in our institution also.
So another, if it is being done, so please send a copy to us for inclusion in the proceedings. Another one is you have referred to two things: think, pair, share, and flipped classroom. Just to make a small comment on that, these are instructional strategies, and if you are using these instructional strategies, the evaluation procedure would vary. So what kind of change you would like to bring in evaluation? That is the question, right? So these are not assessment procedures as such. Now maybe I'm getting a call from Gandhi Engineering College. Are you ready? Please go ahead. Please share your concerns. And please go ahead. Professor Sahu, are you there?
Hello, madam.
Please go ahead.
Madam, in our evaluation process of our institution, so total per subject there are 150 marks actually. So theory is 100 marks, and lab is 100 marks, and 50 marks for internal is 30 marks, and separate test you are conducting in your classroom, and quiz is 10 marks, and your assignment, class assignment is your 5 marks. So the quiz is that we are conducting in our lab through the Google Forms and Google questions.
Okay.
Through Google Form we are conducting online quiz, and once in a month we are conducting in classroom we are conducting think, pair, share concept, and evaluating are giving 5 marks for think, pair subject. And in our project evaluation method, we are following in the project we are following 3 sections. So presentation 1, presentation 2, presentation 3. So in the presentation 1 we are actually following our software requirement specification and analyzing requirements. Up to that we are conducting presentation 1, that is about 15 marks. And in presentation 2, you are following in presentation 2 that is based on your design, so software design. So and in presentation 3, in coding, maintenance, and testing everything. And at last, you are analyzing the total final report after giving the report. So total 100 project mark is divided into 3 presentations. Okay, madam.
Thank you very much for sharing the information. But when you say P1, P2, P3, that is, there are 3 presentations, are there rubrics developed for evaluating student performance in these presentations?
Evaluation is based on individual performance, team-wise performance. So not a student-wise, so team-wise performance. And after that, we are evaluating with.
So that means you are allocating same marks to the students who belong to one particular team?
Team-wise, you are conducting, one team leader will be there. So
okay.
Coding, what is the role of individual person? Suppose your coding is there, so coding is will be decided. Suppose one is doing designing part, so what is the designing section? We are concentrating on designing part in specific analysis. So individual experts are there in a team. According to that, you're evaluating.
Okay, okay. So the work which has been done by a particular student, that is evaluated.
Yes.
That
Yes.
goes to that particular student.
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I move on to the Chandigarh University. Are you ready? Or
Yes,
if you're
we are ready.
go ahead with Mr. Sunny Vig.
Ma'am, today Dr. Akhil Gupta is going to present.
Okay, go ahead, please. Just start the presentation.
My voice is audible.
Centers, kindly switch off the mic. Go ahead, Chandigarh University. Dr. Akhil Gupta, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I am here presenting the internal evaluation and the external evaluation, which we are following at the University Institute of Engineering and Chandigarh University.
If you can highlight the issues and problems along with, that will be very useful.
This is one of the key objectives that my own perspective, that I have all the listed what are the key elements through which any student at the undergraduate level and the postgraduate level is evaluated. So basically our internal assessment is comprised of number of elements. We can see from the first slide that we have the conventional type of 3 types of testing, which is of 1 hour duration each. So we, during the full semester for the undergraduate and the postgraduate students, we have 3 tests of 1 hour each. And in addition to these 3 1-hourly tests, evaluation, we have 3 surprise tests, 3 quizzes, and few tutorials, exercises, and additionally we also provide the students for the home assignments. Now, the main thing which we are implementing while developing the question paper for the hourly test, we develop a question bank which is comprised of at least 35 questions of short answer type and 15 questions of the long answer type questions. Now, this is not that our faculty is going to design or articulate a particular type of question paper for each type of first hourly test. It is that we take the senior person from the other departments. That senior person, other department help is taken, who decides that which question from which topic in each of the category, that is for short answer type and the long answer type question, has to be chosen. And in section A, we put the 6 questions for short answer type questions, 2 marks each. And in section B, we put the 2 questions out of which the third student student has to evaluate 1 question of 12 marks each. The total of making 24 marks, that 24 marks for each 1 hourly test. Now, in addition to these 3 1 hourly tests, we have the surprise test. Now, our curriculum has been designed, such a way that we divide the whole curriculum for each theory subject in 3 units. Now, we the faculty member prepare the surprise test from each of the unit. So we have total of 3 surprise tests and during the semester. I'm coming shortly about the distribution of the marks, maximum marks shortly. Now, as I said, we have the 3 units for each theory course. Similarly, we have the strategy for making the quiz. Now, what we do in the quiz, we choose 100 questions, 100 objective questions. We design 100 objective questions from each of the unit. Thus, total making of 300 objective type questions. Now, our ERP system at University Institute of Management Systems, we take the help of ERP system, in which we feed the topic from where that the objective question has been asked. Now, this ERP question, the programming ERP software, the programming has been done in such a way that there is uniformity maintained while we select the questions, while we select the total of 30 questions, 10 questions from each unit. So we are selecting the total of 10 questions from each unit. So out of 300 designed objective type questions for the purpose of quiz, we take 30 random based questions. Now, in addition to this, we ask the students to go for the home assignments. We have total of 3 home assignments. Ma'am, I am coming to the mark distribution also. Now, when we conduct the 3 1-hourly test, we do the evaluation in such a way that it is evaluated by 2 faculty members. Section A will be evaluated by 1 faculty member who is teaching that subject, and section 2 will be evaluated by another faculty member, maybe of his own expertise. We don't force any faculty member that you have to evaluate. It is the option is given, option is asked to the faculty member, other faculty members other than the subject faculty member, that can you check this? If the faculty member raises his concern, is willing to evaluate another section, for example section B, then we put the name against section B, and that section be evaluated by second faculty member. So any answer sheet of every student, every answer sheet of every student is evaluated generally by the 2 faculty members, so that we can don't have the discrimination in terms of marks allotment. Now, once the evaluation has been done once the evaluation has been completed by the faculty member, and subsequently it has been shown to the respective class students, then we take the signatures that student is satisfactory or not. If the student is not satisfactory from the evaluation of any of the 2 faculty members, that negotiation is called. Negotiation has been negotiation is done between the student and the concerned faculty member who has evaluated, and then again the answer sheet is evaluated by the 2 faculty members. Next, again we repeat the process. Again, the student should be satisfied and seen. So satisfaction should be done from not only from the student side. Sufficient justification should be given by faculty member that why you have been allotted so much awards. So sufficient justification should also be available to the faculty member, a subject in charge, who has evaluated that corresponding section. Now, once the process of the any first hourly test gets completed, we pick out the best 2 answer sheets and the worst 2 answer sheets for the department purpose, internal audits that we conduct semester wise for the future reference. So in addition to this, we have the external evaluation, which is comprised of the 60 marks. Now this slide, you can see this slide is depicting the breakup of the 40 marks, 40 internal assessment for the theory subject. We can see on the second row that we take the average of the 3 1-hourly test. Maximum marks is 8 marks. Midterm test, it is again the part of this one. Element 1, for the element 1 we have the maximum marks 4 marks, that is tutorial. Element 2 is surprise test, maximum marks is 3. Element 3 is home assignments, maximum marks are 4. Element 4 is quiz, that is conducted online by the ERP system at Chandigarh University, maximum marks is 3. Thus is making of the total of 40 marks. In addition to this, we have the penalty of the students in case in case the whole class goes on the mass bunk. We deduct the -3 per mass bunk per subject course. For example, if any class goes on the mass bunk 3 times per semester per theory subject, then -9 would be automatically deducted by our ERP system. So that corresponding theory subject will not be evaluated from the 40 marks. Instead, it will be evaluated from 31 marks. Now we have one more provision that 2 marks have been allocated for the attendance. It will be allocated to the, it will be allotted to the student in case the student attendance is more than 90%. Now, when the student 90% compilation attendance is compiled at the end of the semester, it is not only his class attendance. It is, in addition, it is the inclusion of the duty leaves and the medical leaves. So duty leaves and the medical leave, for the duty leaves and medical leaves to be eligible for any student, we have set the limit that 65% is the limit for any student to be eligible for consideration of their duty leave and the medical leave. In case the student fails to achieve the mark of 65% in the regular classes of any theory subject, then he or she will not be eligible for the duty leaves and the medical leaves benefit. So for this, we have set the limit 65% to 75% only. Here, he or she should be eligible for the duty leaves and the medical leaves. Now, in the internal assessment, on the other side, we have the practical. For this, it is mandatory. Again, we have designed the practical curriculum spanned in the 3 units. 4 to 5 practicals have been allocated to each unit, thus making of 10 to 12 practicals in total. Now, in this, we conduct the Viva Voice. We evaluate the practical file of the student on the same day. Once the practical is done and the same practical has been performed, and that practical performance has been noted on the practical file and has been shown to the faculty member, lab in charge, in the next term. So when the student is reporting in the next lab, the Viva Voice and the performance and the write-up quality of the practical is evaluated through the 3 types of internal evaluation. Now, if the said student is absent, found to be absent in any term, that student is not evaluated and will not be given any type of mark. So this whole 12 practicals we evaluated out of 30 marks. For each practical, if we are having the total of 10 practicals, for example, we have the total evaluation of 300 marks. So we can see for each practical, we have been given the marks of conduct of the practical 12 marks, Viva Voice 8 marks, recording of the experiment on the practical notebooks, we have given the maximum marks of 10. So once the total internal is compiled for 10 practicals, we do the scaling of 300 marks to 30 marks. In addition to this 30 marks, we have the 2 types of testing. Once the student is performed, 1/3 of the total of the practicals, MST 1 is conducted for the practical, for which the maximum marks is 5 marks. Then the second MST is conducted for the maximum marks of 10 marks, and that condition is 2/3 of the practical must be covered for the total practicals. So for this, we have again the second type of evaluation, thus making a total of 15 marks. So these 30 marks student already scored is scaled up to 45 marks, and the second category of the 15 marks is added to the 45 marks. Thus, the total marks of the student practical internal is 60 marks. On the other side of the practical examination, we have the external practical. Whenever we invite some external evaluator from the outside academic institute or the industry organization, we give the 3 type of attributes and the maximum marks to the evaluator. So we can see that the total attributes, it is 40 marks. For this, 20 marks is given to the conduct of the experiment, job preparation, for which the student is given more emphasis on the prototype development, recording on the answer sheet that what are the observations and the conclusion that the student has withdrawn, from the practical conducted. And finally, once the conclusion has been written on the answer sheet, the said student is invited for the Viva Voice examination by the external evaluator, for which the external marks, maximum marks is given the 10 marks. So these are the 3 attributes for the external examination. Now, in addition to these regular type of internal and external examination applicable for theory and practical courses, we have the project-based learning. This is very, very particular point on which the student is given more emphasis with effect from the 4th semester. So from the 4th semester onwards, till the student comes in the 8th semester, we give the different types of projects to the students for each practical lab. In this, the student, in the first 15 days of the registration, the student has been asked to submit the synopsis, and registration is done by the lab in charge of the student. And in this, we have the second type of evaluation. The midterm evaluation is conducted for the for knowing the status of the project, what the student is doing, whether the simulation work is being done or some prototype development is being done by the student. So final evaluation is done once the semester is over. In this, we ask the student to submit the simulation work or the prototype development of the project. And this problem, one condition is laid once the semester gets started, that this problem should be related to the advancements taking place in your own field of engineering. In addition to this, we have the practice of engineering practice, for which the subjects already covered by the student in the previous semester is evaluated. For example, in the student in the 4th semester, in this, student has to appear in each week for the different objective type examination of the subjects for which he or she has covered during the previous semester. So in this way, the student links in the present semester with the studies he has obtained, with the studies and the outcome he has done in the previous semester. Subsequently, we have the engineering practice provision in each semester, 4th semester onwards. In addition to this, we have the different type of aptitude modules so that the student is able to present and appear for the different types of placement activities when he or she comes in the 7th semester. So with effect from the 7th semester, the student becomes eligible to sit in the different types of placement activities. So before the entry of the 7th semester, we are very confident our student becomes ready for the different types of examination patterns in the different placement activities. And if the student is willing to appear for the GATE examination, that student is competent enough to appear for the GATE examination. We have the slight different condition for the postgraduate students. Once the student
go ahead. I have one question for you. Can you please clarify the grading system which is being used in Chandigarh University?
Ma'am, we have the cumulative grading point academic.
How do you arrive at that? How do you arrive at that?
Oh, okay, ma'am. Actually, I have not enlisted on my PowerPoint presentation.
Let me just explain how it is being done.
Ma'am, unfortunately, I have not shown it on the PPT because that grading system is very complex. It would be wonderful that I had my slide for this, so I could explain the.
Anyway, I'm stopping you here because let's listen to. Thank you very much. You have given us in detail the system which is being followed at the evaluation for evaluation of student performance in various components. But any major issue which is being faced by the university in evaluation of students' performance?
Yes, ma'am. The major issue which few of the faculty member is facing, that when the student is asked to submit the synopsis, the quality of the synopsis has to be improved repeatedly number of times by the faculty members. Because the student during the preparation of the synopsis, the student is sufficiently motivated to refer the various articles from the journals, books, and the conferences. But in the first attempt, it is a common problem that particularly undergraduate student, that the student in the first attempt, even in the second attempt, the student is not able to write the good synopsis.
So, we got your question. So what step has been taken by the university to improve upon this situation or resolve the issue?
Yes. This is basically the repetitive feed to the student, unless in the even the 15 days have been crossed, even the first 15 days, which is mandatory, during which the student has to submit and register for the project. But if the student crosses that limit, we deduct the marks for that particular attribute and ask the student to submit again the synopsis.
Hello, I think I'll request Dr. Malhotra to say a few words if not at this time. Okay, but I think you must look into how these writing skills, writing a synopsis again requires skill. So how to train our student from 4th semester onwards into writing a synopsis, so that by the time he is likely to submit a synopsis, he actually has those skills of writing a synopsis. So don't go for negative marking and so on, because that's a learning process for them. They are not. Chalo, thank you very much. Maybe I move on to C.V. Raman College of Engineering. C.V. Raman. Ji ma'am.
Good afternoon, madam.
Anji, good afternoon.
So this is
Ji ma'am,
I'm
go ahead.
sharing my screen. I'm in the process of I hope the screen is visible.
Abhi, I think we are waiting. Go ahead. Ho gaya. It is done, ma'am. We are able to see. Ma'am, kindly open the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Ji.
It's okay now?
It's okay now.
So my institute, and hello, this is Dr. Indira Rautrai, and my institute is an autonomous institute since last 3 years. We have done quite a part of brainstorming for this evaluation pattern. Evaluation types of the students, this engineering students, are mostly of 2 types. One is continuous and comprehensive evaluation, direct evaluation by the teacher, and other one is end semester evaluation, that is indirect evaluation. Evaluation grounds, that's evaluation of theory, evaluation of practical, and evaluation of project work. Basically depend on all these grounds. One is written examination, formative assessments, quiz or vivas, home assignments, this lab attendance, participations, classroom tests, test technical skills or ability, this multiple intelligence test also, interest to test psychological skills, testing collaborative learning and team spirit. Team spirit is basically during our projects and all this. In our institute, we have presentations, report preparations. So these are the basic themes on which we evaluate. Suppose for a theory paper, we have evaluation on assignments, attendance, this examination at the end semester, class test, multiple choice, like it's a online mid-sem examination. So, and for this lab work, we are having 70 plus 30, like 70 is against this regular lab works, 10 labs into 7 marks each, awarded 70 plus 30 at the end of the semester, that's a viva. This is for lab for project. We have 50 plus 50, 50 is by the teacher. Teacher identifies the student's interest in the subject, his literature survey, his participation, his team spirit, and finally the project presentation and all is evaluated by a core committee. So evaluation depends on all these criteria. The basic challenges are how to improve student evaluation practice. We are continuously stressing on modifying interactive and problem-solving technique, these teaching patterns, setting up questions. We give a question bank to the students. Assignments providing open scopes. Assignments are like in our curriculum we have self-learning chapters also. So assignments are based on problem-solving and self-learning chapters. Understanding the recent advances in technology, latest updates of technology, students are made aware and they are tested on that. Student motivation is again a big issue whenever it comes to evaluation. Now, challenges we face are improving performance of weak students. This is a very big challenge.
Ma'am, the audio is gone. CV Raman. Freeze तो नहीं हो गया? So maybe we are not able to listen to CV Raman Institute. Are you able to hear me? चले गया, connection ही गया. Okay. Now maybe I move on to Merit Institute of Engineering and Technology quickly. May I request Dr. Ajay Sharma to give his views? Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
मैम मैं ना थोड़ी देर तक तो कॉल करती है मैं प्रोग्राम में जब मैं करती हूँ हाँ जी
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, ma'am. This is regarding the students' evaluation.
Ji.
The 5 criteria as has been suggested by you. The first one is performance in the theory. This can be evaluated by first having a clarity in our mind that what is assessment and what is evaluation. We must have a clear thought process of doing assessment and evaluation. As far as assessment is concerned, when we assign it a particular value or numerical value, that thing, and evaluation, it is broad term, rating it with certain standard, comparing it with some benchmark. That is what evaluation is. Then setting of the standard question paper is also very important as far as assessment or performance evaluation of performance in theory is concerned. Apart from the proportion of the subjective and objective questions in that examination paper. Then the next point is university and institute must give sufficient time for evaluation, because at times in some institutes like what may happen is the exams occurred and in a very short duration they are expected to send back the copies after evaluation. And same is the university, because we are living in the semester systems. So in between the semester, at times there is very less realistic time in order to sufficiently and meaningfully evaluate the copies. The next point is we have seen that some of the senior faculties, it has been generally observed trend that senior faculty members are not interested in evaluation. And also, sometimes they do not have sufficient time for evaluation due to other assignments. So if senior faculties do involve in the evaluation work, then the quality of the evaluation is going to be improved. Then the mandatory evaluation by teachers, because if all the teachers are being mandatorily given this evaluation work, I think that is going to improve upon the performance, evaluation of performance in the theory exams. These are some of the assessment tools that could be used in form of presentations in theory, research papers, essays, self-assessment, peer assessment, lab practical, term paper, academic competitions, and apart from that, the regular exams which are there. Next, sir. Next, sir. Yeah. Now, performance in the practical work, the second point. Here, if I come to the fourth point, which is out of curriculum practicals, if we can make or we can develop our students in such a way so that they not only are well versed with the curriculum practicals, but apart from which, if something other is also given to them, then that is a way with which, with the help of which we can evaluate the students. And similarly, if they are allowed to do, if they are taught in this manner so that they can perform the same practical in different ways. Like I am from the Department of Biotechnology, there are different ways of doing the same thing. Like if the DNA is moving from a negative side towards a positive side, if we change the electrodes, and what would be its result? If we can change the percentage of across, what would be the result? So those are the different ways where students can learn and relearn some new things while doing up the same thing. Likewise, the Viva on the setup, wherever and whenever if possible, that could be a very good way of evaluating. In fact, after when you send this PPT model, then I interacted with my class students, and they gave me their feedback that if on each practical day their viva is taken, like what we are following this practice here. So in that way, the students will always be on their toes and be ready to learn more if viva are taken regularly. And similarly, regular practical file evaluation, if that is that can be incorporated within the stipulated time period for the practical, then that could be one of the way of evaluating the performance. The next one is a performance in the project work. It is a recommendation from us that what we feel here in many of the departments. I have been my colleague in different departments from mechanical engineering, electronics and computer engineering, computer science. What we believe in is the project work can be started in the third year, because problems are too much, and realistically within the fourth year, and particularly within the final semester, students sometimes are not able to complete that problem, or but a hodgepodge kind of situations are there. So if this could be started in third year, then we could have a meaningful evaluation of performance in project work. Then problems must be realistic and societal, and have a scope. Like if they are realistic and have impact on the society, then that way the students could be more concerned with those problems and will be able to work more realistically, and that way the evaluation can be impacted. Next one is objectives must be clear of the study, and more emphasis on future scope means the problem must be in continued mode. There must be impact the near future. In the future, what we are going to, how it is going to impact what the results of this problem. On this basis also the performance could be evaluated, and continual enhancement of the problem year by year, so that incrementally, like the same problem cannot every time the same problem be given to the 4 students of a particular supervisor, and next time the plant has been changed and the same thing again given to the next set of students. There must be some continual enhancement in the problem, so that the students really every time they are motivated to do something new, and that way that could be one of the parameter of evaluating the students' project performance. And finally, appropriate literature review, which is a very important parameter as far as our kind of labs are concerned, where wet lab is involved in case of chemical engineering, biotechnology, pharmaceutical sciences, where wet lab projects are involved. In those cases, literature review is a very prerequisite which must be performed. And in fact, what we had done this time, we had a literature review. We had assigned the projects in the third year, 6th semester itself, in biotechnology department, and then we had a competition on the literature review. The students were asked to present a paper, and based upon that the evaluation was done, and then based upon that the first assessment was in fact performed. So that could be one of the criteria for evaluating the performance in the project work. Next please. There must be a well-defined time spent for completion of project work. We have seen many of the times some of the projects they finished well before, within the first 2 months of the project work, and some of them they go up to the wire, light up to the last moment. So there must be a defined time spent. On the basis of that, on the basis of the completion of within the stipulated time period, there can be evaluated. Then the dimensions of evaluation that must be defined previously. And regular assessment of the progress, like every 2 months there can be in the form of PowerPoint presentation, there can be a assessment where the students have to present what they have done in the past 2 months. On the basis of that, and then they will be evaluated by a team of senior faculty members or the group of research group which can evaluate their performance. Then similarly, time-based evaluation, timely evaluation there must be. And finally, the project must be finally result into some output. That could be one of our goal, and that could be a parameter for evaluation, like publication in form of journal, conference, or maybe related something IPR, some patent or something like that, with which we can find out what would be the output of this project. This is related to the evaluation. And finally, the fourth point related to industrial training. Industries, ma'am, am I audible?
Audible hai.
Performance and evaluation in industrial training. Industries must take serious steps to improve their training and placements so that maximum number of students get trained. Because what we see right now in engineering education in our state, what we see is after third year, it's mandatory for all the engineering students, and lakhs of engineering students are there, and everyone has to find out the training area for them, training institute for them. So meaningful or quality training is hampered that way. So if students can also be if the company's training and placement cell can be improved in that way, so that maximum number of students can get trained and quality training can be given to those students. At times we have seen that students went to the training and they have been asked by the company personals के okay ठीक है but अब तुम्हें हम ज़्यादा समय तो नहीं दे पाएंगे, यहाँ पर बहुत बच्चे आए हुए हैं तो हम तुम्हें कुछ ही दिन के लिए रख पाएंगे. So that way students get the certificate for 1 month, but again the quality enhancement is not there. So this is one of the area, but digitalization of the certificate is another way in that where if the certificate is provided from the training provider, training institutes in form of digital form, then that way that can hamper those situations in which students produce the false certificates. And students must be aware well in advance about the methodology of training. That way they could also prepare. And because sometimes when they reach to the institute or the training institute or the company, they do not know what is expected of them. So as a result, their advancement is hampered. So next one is students proper evaluation that should have been there both the ends, at the training at the institute level and at the host level like us. So proper evaluation as well as a feedback from the training institute must be regular. It could be weekly or it could be done as well as in the form of a final evaluation, which could be done by the training institute which is providing the training. Next, please. That is all, ma'am. There's the last point, which is trends and assessment. Various methods can be deployed for using this, depending upon the situation.
Okay.
That is all, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. I think 2-3 points which you have mentioned about. One was the out of curriculum for the practicals. That is, Dr. Malhotra has already said, when you're dealing with the practicals, there ought to be a comprehensive examination testing the ability to perform. And then you have raised third year, the problems can be given for the project work. We fully accept that, because even at this institute, we are allowing our master student to select the problem, initially start working on it. By the time comes to take up the research-based project, he or she is ready with the plan and the synopsis submitted on time, and then they proceed with. So another thing you mentioned was with respect to the time. So you have said there are few students who complete their work within 2 months or so. I think while you are selecting a problem, you need to look into the breadth and scope of the project, that it requires the time which has been allocated for. So please make sure these are ticked. Then the third thing which you have said, the placement has to be there for industrial training. I think that point was taken up on the very first panel discussion, and then second panel discussion, that industrial training at present, which is unstructured, needs to be structured at the institute level. Institute must ensure placement in a meaningful way, and then proper evaluation by the teacher and the industry personnel. That needs to be ensured. So thank you very much for joining us. And
thank you, ma'am.
I think we are now left with Global Institute of Technology, Jaipur. Would you like to make a quick presentation? Last nahi aage ho. Anybody else? Desha connected to us? Anji?
Presentation है अपना सर?
नहीं है.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you don't have a presentation. Hold on. When Pradesh Institute of Technology, we have Arvind Singh coming up with the presentation. So can I request you to make a quick presentation, which will be then open question. If you have issues, questions for the panelists, we can take it up. Arvind, are you there? So I don't think we have Adesh Institute ready with that. So Global Institute of Technology, do you have any question for the panelists? Anything you would like to clarify? पर बोलता कोई नहीं ना, बोल ही नहीं रहे, कोई करना छोड़, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं। अरविंद, आपकी ऑडियो नहीं आ रही है। हाँ, आपके दूसरे पार्टनर की आवाज आ रही है, आपकी नहीं आ रही है। आप लैपटॉप का स्पीकर ऑन कीजिए प्लीज। आपके लैपटॉप का स्पीकर बंद लग रहा है। Check it, Monica. Can we see whether their mic is open? नहीं कर रहा। Have you changed the system? No. Sorry, Mr. Arvind. I think audio is not there. So otherwise, if you can speak, because I'm able to listen to your counterpart. आपके जो colleague हैं उनकी आवाज आ रही थी अभी। Okay. नहीं. So I think we have to do away with the presentation from Adesh. Over to Global Institute of Technology. Quick, if you have one or two questions for the panelists.
Project evaluation. So, hello.
Please, sir, please continue the question.
Yes, ma'am, can you suggest some of the practices, good practices, which are accepted over a world? What are the practices are there for project evaluation?
Okay, thank you very much. The question is, what are some of the best practices world over to evaluate student performance in project work? To the panelists, anybody who would like to answer that question? वहीं से बैठ के बोल सकते हैं। हाँ जी। Okay, so friends, I think Dr. Sunil, while dealing with the practical work, has given you the 5 different components which should be taken into consideration for the project work. That was selection of the problem, where is the one component. Second one is the planning for the project work. Third one is the execution of the project work. And the fourth one is the report writing. And the fifth component is the viva voce. And here under each stage, say for example, when you're dealing with the selection of the project, the elements which can go into the evaluation is how much initiative the student has taken to select a problem. What kind of, whether it is a novel, original problem, or is it a repetitive kind of a problem. Then we must look into whether the problem which has been selected is worthwhile for the individual, for the institute, industry, or the society. Then we must look into the feasibility of that problem, whether within the available resources, available time, the student will be able to complete the project and will be able to find a solution to the problem which he has selected. Then when it comes to the planning stage, the methodology which has been selected, whether methodology to execute the project is appropriate, and whether the problem has been defined clearly, the student understands what are the parameters which are to be taken into account, and what are the control variables, and what are the manipulated variables, and so on. Is he clear about what needs to be done, the definition of the problem, and what is likely to be the outcome of that project? And then what kind of schedule, the time schedule has been prepared, the allocation of time to various activities which are to be performed, carrying out the project. Execution would be actual carrying out of the planned processes. So here comes in ability to follow the correct procedure or the process depending upon the problem. Then whether the person is able to manipulate the machinery, equipment, and tools, whether the person is resourceful enough to deal with the problems that he encounters in executing the project. And if it is a group work, whether the individual responsibilities have been fixed, so individual contribution, then cooperation among the members, sharing of resources, etc. And then whether the observations and records have been fully maintained by the person. And then when it comes to the report writing, so the data which has been gathered, how accurately that has been analyzed, so whether proper techniques of analysis have been applied, and the person is able to draw appropriate conclusions on the basis of that, and then what future research is proposing to be carried out on the basis of this project. And lastly, why we will say to know whether the person who has taken up the project has the understanding of the underlying concepts and the rationale why you followed a particular approach, and the ability to journalize. These things are being taken into account. And I would like to add here that when we look into, we had an opportunity to visit Canada and look to the kind of assessment procedures used by the people. So it is not only the teacher who is doing it, but if it is a project taken by a team, then the peer assessment and self-assessment is taken by the teacher along with his own observations, and then final grading is done. So they have very detailed rubric developed for evaluation of student performance in project work. And if you look at IEEE transactions, many papers are available on project-based learning, wherein they have shared their criteria. More or less, the elements remain the same, but you need to be very specific how many elements can actually be observed, measured. So you need to cut short. Not all the parameters, not all the elements are to be included, but out of the list of the elements, you can zero down to maybe 10, which you can observe, you can measure, and you can have objective records for those elements. And then you go ahead and give the final grading. I hope I am able to give you the answer. Thank you very much. Now over to C.V. Raman, if you have a quick question for the panelists. C.V. Raman, College of Engineering. Aditya? Hanji, ma'am, do you have anybody who has a question for the panelists?
Yeah, we have some questions.
No question?
No.
Okay. So, Meerut Institute of Engineering and Technology. Any questions for the panelists? Yeah. एक मिनट अंधियान
Presentation for CV.
Sir, any question for the panelists? Not getting the audio.
One question. Hello.
Hello. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, there is a question regarding the evaluation that, we are, in today's time, all the competitions are, system based or like 1:4 options are there. Means like, yes. So, but we are letting the students on a theory basis, right? Every good competition is having that kind of structure. So, I think there might be some transformation that after some times we assume that all these kinds of theory papers will become a history, and the students will be evaluated in conventional courses based on that only. Is it so?
Any panel member would like to reply? Hanji. The question is that we evaluate students on the basis of written tests. Now, will there be a time when all these tests become a history and we think of other things?
There is no answer to that because it depends on the people who are responsible for the construction of these tests. Especially I think to start with the board of examination. In the case of the polytechnics and the university registrar office, which is responsible for examination, they have to listen to, I think there are different methods of testing.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, the method of, when you're talking of a tool of test, that you are employing for test, it must be a valid tool.
Yes.
What you want to really see that the students have attained, only with respect to that you have to construct, you have to choose that evaluation tool. So the people from the universities who are responsible for testing, the teachers of the university and engineering colleges, they need to be, as a matter of fact, trained in the areas of evaluation. They must be exposed to the areas of evaluation, otherwise nothing is going to change.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, the answer which has been given by sir is that at present we are bound by the rules of the university as we discussed yesterday, and maybe we are not able to bring a change. But yes, there are different tools. You have listened to the various presentations. You have listened to the panelists. They have given you the spectrum of tools which can be used to assess the student performance in theory. This can be written test as just one component. You have home assignment, you have projects, you have independent term papers, then other problems you can give to the students for solving. So group discussion is another think, pair, share, which instructional strategy. There you can evaluate student performance. So what you are saying is, if you look at the graduate attributes, the POs which you are now framing for your courses, your higher level abilities need to be tested. So written test may be done away with in due course of time, but yes, they'll remain a component. So weightage may go down as far as the written test is concerned. So thank you very much for your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anji, over to Chandigarh University. Sorry, I'm forgetting Riyadh Bara campus today. So over to Riyadh Bara campus. If anybody has a question for the panelist, over to Riyadh Bara campus. Ji. Riyadh Bara. जी सर।
मैम मेरा क्वेश्चन है, जब हम बच्चे के एमएससी सरप्राइज टेस्ट वाइवा सब कुछ इतना अच्छे से ले लेते हैं, तो फाइनल की क्या जरूरत पड़ती है? बेकार में बच्चे ने इतना ज्यादा प्रेशर क्रिएट करके रखा हुआ है।
आपका कहना है there are so many tests, बच्चे को इतना प्रेशराइज करके रखा हुआ है। फाइन, तो क्या आप आंसर क्या चाह रहे हो कि इतने टेस्ट होने चाहिए या नहीं होने चाहिए?
ऐसी है, उसी को हम फाइनल माने और सेमेस्टर हम पूरे 6 महीने का रखते हैं। 2 महीने बाद एमएससी प्लस उसकी अटेंडेंस 2 महीने बाद 75 होती है, तो ठीक है। अदरवाइज उसकी बैक या जो भी डिटेन है उसको वहीं पे कंसीडर कर लें। दोबारा हर बार हम उसका वाइवा 2 मिनट में जज कर लेते हैं। जो एक्सटर्नल आता है कि 2 मिनट में वाइवा लिया, अगर तो उसकी पसंद का क्वेश्चन आ गया तो उसको अच्छी मार्क्स चले जाते हैं, और कई बार टॉपर भी बेचारा रह जाता है इस केस में।
I think your question is well taken, and our panelist, Dr. Malhotra, is likely to respond to your question. So, sir.
I think I did say when I was saying a few words about student evaluation that the system of student evaluation has become extraneous to the teaching learning process, and the very learning objectives of the curriculum. You are only giving stress on trying to grade the students and trying to rate the students as per their competency by comparing one with other. Trying to orient yourself and try to focus on the kind of learning objectives which they must attain. Concentrate or focus yourself on the learning outcomes as well. I think the number of these just go away. Yes. And you will be reduced only to a few tests which are valid tests.
Thank you, Hanji. Dr. Bedi. Hanji.
I would like to add here, if you make sure formative evaluation more frequent, I think this test won't look like that there are so many tests. Because formative evaluation is totally missing in the system. Teacher just comes in the class, teaches and just get away with the things. So that's the reason students are neither they are regular and they are not clarifying their day-to-day doubts. Basics are not clear to them. once they come out of it, maybe the evaluations, even if they are frequent, they might not become burden on them.
Thank you very much. And let me add here, the colleges which have gone in for outcome-based education, they have a system of inputs and they are maintaining a record of student-teacher interaction. And they also try to align the questions raised with the learning outcomes that have been planned for each topic. The software is available, a platform is available, which can be used by the teachers to keep track of the interactions that take place, the learning that takes place in the classroom. And you need not give extra test, but what is the common teaching learning process and what kind of learning is yielded in that process is recorded and aligned to the learning outcomes. So we need to look into the changes that are happening in today's environment and find out. Even if you know Google Classroom, then this is one platform which gives you a opportunity to have interaction record of the students with you and on day-to-day basis, and then you can complete records. Thank you very much. Over to Chandigarh.
Hello.
Anji, please go ahead.
प्रोफेसर तुलसी सादर नमस्कार, जगदीप बोल रही हूँ बिहार कॉलेज ऑफ एजुकेशन से।
बोलिए प्लीज।
पहले तो आप सबको एजुकेशनिस्ट को मेरा नमस्कार। मैम, आई जस्ट वांट टू कंसंट्रेट ऑन वन थिंग। आपने अभी बताया टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में जो इंटरेक्शंस है टीचर स्टूडेंट की, एंड इसके लर्निंग आउटकम पर जोर होना चाहिए, व्हिच इज मिसिंग इन आवर टेक्नोलॉजी इंस्टीट्यूट्स, मैक्सिमम ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट्स। दिस इज द वन थिंग व्हिच इज हाइलाइटेड, the point which you have highlighted just now. The second thing is the designing the question is missing. The designing of question is just traditional. We are just orthodox तरीके से वो डिजाइन करते जा रहे हैं। तो टीचर्स की इवैल्यूएशन के टाइम पर मुझे लगता है that part is missing in us की critical thinking की जब हम बात करते हैं, creativity की करते हैं, तो डिजाइनिंग पर जोर होना चाहिए, how to ask a question in a particular type of evaluation. ये दो चीजें मुझे लग रहा था कि it is to be emphasized while working out the learning outcome of the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for supplementing, and very valid point you have raised that the focus has to be on the interaction and the errors, and then on designing of questions rather than anything. I think, have I correctly understood what you wanted to say?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for raising this issue. Maybe over to Chandigarh University. Any quick question to the panelists? Chandigarh University, any quick question for the panelists? Okay. Okay, in the meantime, Gandhi Engineering College or GATE, if you would like to pose a quick question to the panelists.
No, madam, no question.
No question, okay.
For madam, for industrial training program, what are the attributes or parameters we have considered for evaluation process?
Industrial training में.
Hello.
Just a minute. बोलना चाहोगे कोई या मैं ही दे दूं? जी, सुनील. Okay, when it comes to industrial training, the people have taken up the performance on the task. That is, what duty, job, responsibility is assigned by the person with whom a student is attached. So what kind of performance the person is showing is one. Another one is the attitude of the person to, that is whether he is willing to learn additional things. Then it is also maintained that how vigilant the person is, whether he raises questions with respect to the work environment where he is working. That is another element. And then whether the person accomplished the assigned task, accomplishment of the targets which have been given to the person. This is what supervision the person is doing the industrial training. Another, Hanji. Ji, please, sir. So, sir is going to give you additional elements. Dr. Malhotra, please, sir.
Sir.
Please hold on. Just listen to the answer and then we'll take the question.
I think one of the best ways to address the performance of students in the industry training is to ask them to prepare a portfolio of performance. First thing in the portfolio should talk about that organization in which he is taking the training. Try to describe the very mission of that organization, trying to talk about the kind of products that they are manufacturing, trying to talk about the production line which they have established, trying to talk about the different management structures of that industry, what are the kind of roles they are playing, and if possible, try to see the kind of problems they are facing, the right problems which they are facing. The right problem will start right from the entry of the raw materials into that organization or making the product. There will be a number of problems there. As to whether those materials that they come with the right kind of materials, their quality, their number, their timely, a number of problems are there. So I think on the production line, there are different areas, different steps where the product is prepared. I think the quality assurance, the manufacturing process, and the marketing and all that kind of thing. So what are the problems they are facing? So I think if the student tries to find out the kind of work being done by the various units on the very production lines, as well as the other constituents of that, the roles they are playing, and the problems they are facing, I think we very well educated in that particular industry, and everybody will be able to take it.
Anji, Dr. Bedi.
Yes, I would like to add on it that I have seen when they go to industry, at times the job given is not the same for all types of students. So some may be doing for the where the manufacturing is there, or some are involved in the production, some in the marketing also. So this one component that is in nature of the industry, in the industrial training, nature of the work the person is allotted, that may be different from different set of students, from depending upon the type of work where they are taking the industrial training. I have seen when they are going, one of the students, when he was going for the marketing, he had some great presentation even in front of the higher also. So it may change this type of criteria broadly. You may remain, but the sub-components will change with that. And then the other things, of course, will remain common. Take it behavior, attitude, punctuality, initiative, those things might remain same for different set of.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Anji.
Another question from our.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello, madam.
Anji.
Can you evaluate the industrial visits from the students? How to evaluate the industrial visits, and that can be added to this curriculum also?
Yes, industrial visits, when they are structured and when you are planning a visit to the industry, beforehand it needs to be structured. So which industry they are going to visit. So related to that industry, what Dr. Malhotra has said, if you give a set of questions to the students in the beginning, and when they go to the industry, they observe the industry and then try to find an answer to those questions. And when they come back, there is presentation, there is a synthesis of the information which they have collected, and then you are able to evaluate on the basis of the structured task which you have assigned to them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Now, Anji, BVVS Bagalkot.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Ji, please. Please, sir. Sir, internal mic यूज कर लीजिए. External mic में noise है बहुत सारी.
Hello.
Sir, we are not able to hear you clearly.
Hello.
Am I audible, madam?
Anji, audible.
Hello.
Anji, please go ahead. Sir, boliye.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Madam, my question is, as far as practicals and project work evaluation is concerned, it is more of skill evaluation. And most of the universities and boards are giving more weightage for end examination rather than continuous evaluation. Whereas I feel continuous evaluation has to be given more weightage than the end examination for practicals and exams. I would like to have the opinion of the panel on this issue.
I think there's no second opinion about it, that continuous evaluation in case of practical skills and project work has to be given more weightage. Even when the panelists had the presentations, this was the point which was made by all of them. So we are all in agreement with you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Okay. So any other institution which would like to pose a question at this juncture?
Yeah, we have a question. Hello.
Please go ahead. Anji, Women Polytechnic speaking.
Hello ma'am, good afternoon. I am Shazira. I am a second year diploma student. Ma'am, compared to earlier evaluation system, presently students are not having proper knowledge because the students are already getting marks through internals, writing assignments and attendance, etc. In short, too much focus on evaluation on students adversely affect the teaching learning process. So the question is that, is it really helping the students to gain knowledge?
Your question is whether evaluation is actually helping the students to get the knowledge. Is this the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Any panelist would like to answer, Ji?
Definitely, evaluation is going to help the students. Whether yesterday it was said that there should not be evaluation, but I would say if at all you want to evaluate in a reliable and valid way, and formative evaluation which is taking place in day-to-day classes, that is definitely going to help the students, and rather it is having other benefits also, not only improving in their knowledge, but when the questions are asked and students answer, one thing that the teacher gets feedback where the student stands. At the same time, student is also benefited in developing his or her communication skills also. So in any case, these evaluations are going to help the students in acquiring their knowledge, and I would say even in skills also.
Thank you.
Through evaluation only that you come to know whether you have understood the concepts or principles and where you are lagging. So evaluation plays a very important role, and as everybody has said that it has to be on a continuous basis. So we need to give feedback on a continuing basis.
Thank you very
much. The last point to make on this is that why people sometimes don't like evaluation, because it creates a fear. But when there is no fear of grading, that kind of a thing, people will be overjoyed to take up this kind of evaluation and take advantage out of it and try to see what is the weakness in them, what is the drawbacks, gaps in them, and they can try to fill it up.
Thank you very much, sir. I think the point is well taken that if evaluation which is carried out is systematic, valid, reliable, and more stresses on continuous and formative evaluation, the stress that is being experienced by the student will be gone, and students will take it, learn from it, improve upon their weaknesses, and certainly it is going to add to the knowledge as well as testing of other skills. So it is
another thing, just sir, but sir has just mentioned, just I got it heard from there only. When teachers ask questions in the classroom, students have a fear that he may not be, especially if the answer is not correct. They have a fear that we will be insulted in front of the whole class. And some teachers go over that also. So if if open, conducive environment, encouraging environment is given as a feedback to the students, I think students will come more forward for asking questions and clarifying them.
Thank you. Over to the college, if there is any other question. Maybe the last question we are going to take up.
Good afternoon. This is from C.V. Raman College of Engineering, madam.
Go ahead.
I regret there is a sudden network failure, so I could not continue with my last part of the presentation.
Leave it.
Somewhere there is.
If there is any question which you would like to pose to the panelist, over to you, ma'am.
Madam, the CO-PO mapping has always been a challenge for us. Like we are this NBA and NAC accredited, so we are into all this question setting. While we set the question, we also notify how much PO we are there, and attainment is also evaluated. But for subject to subject, it is different. We are not in a position to decide which is the ideal percentage of attainment and all this. It is always a challenge for us, continuously changing from subject to subject.
Ma'am,
I want your opinion regarding this.
I think you are absolutely right when you are making this statement that from subject to subject, the course outcomes would vary, and thereby the percentage which is to be given to the various levels would also vary, and you need not worry on that. It is going to be there. It is going to be there. You are absolutely right in your statements when you have already given an
standard. We cannot therefore put a standard that this 70% or 60% is the ideal CO attainment percentage for every subject.
No, I think that should not be the criteria, because when you are going for outcome-based education and you are going for competency testing, it is actually the mastery which you are trying to ensure among students rather than going for 60%, 70%. Maybe as you said, sir has made a reference to portfolios, and when you are having OBE, you are maintaining a portfolio for the student. So what was the initial level, what addition has been made to his portfolio, the capabilities which he brought, and then what change you could witness in that. That is where the monitoring and the formative evaluation role is, and you are taking appropriate actions to bridge the gaps that exist. So I think, yeah, it is very strenuous and time-taking task, but teaching is, that is what we say, is a challenging task, and it cannot be taken casually. As we have been taking for years together, I think OBE is now drilling the teachers and make them more proactive in the responsibilities which have to be shouldered. Thank you so much for raising this question. I think I, at this juncture, would take the benefit of your comments, and I would like to conclude that student evaluation, OBE, would require very great or huge effort on the part of the teachers to carry on the student evaluation in the various components of the teaching learning process. At present, there are many drawbacks in the existing system of evaluation, and we all need to pay attention to all those issues and drawbacks and increase or enhance the reliability, the validity, objectivity, and rather than making the student feel the pressure of evaluation, if it is taken as a method of improving the performance through formative evaluation, that would be a value addition to the existing system of evaluation. And rightly said by Dr. Malhotra, the faculty development has to be on a continuous basis so that the people who are taking, making or carrying out the evaluation, they are trained, they'll be in a better position to adopt the appropriate methods, techniques, and they'll be able to utilize the results of the evaluation. At the same time, it is not only the teacher, but the universities which are framing rules for evaluation, or the boards of, the state boards of technical education and so on, who are framing rule at the diploma level, if the people managing the examination system are given orientation, I think things would change. So with this note, I would like to first express my gratitude to the panelists here, Professor M.M. Malhotra, for joining us today and sparing his very valuable 4 hours. And he has been throughout listening to you, then answering your questions and listening to the various presentations. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us. I would like to thank Professor S.P. Bedi and Professor Sunil Dutt, who have been the panelists today, and they have shared their valuable information with respect to assessment of theory as well as the assessment of practical work. I would also like to thank Engineer Amandeep. She has all the time been taking notes so that we can prepare our proceedings for the panels. I would like to thank the supporting staff of the department who have been providing the assistance, and the staff from ETV department, Monica and Deepika, who have been providing the technical support to us. I would also like to thank all the supporting staff at various network centers who have really made it possible, and all the directors, principals, and the presenters who have actually shared the information with all of us. I would request all the presenters to send me a copy of their PowerPoint presentation so that we can include all this in a proceeding and then pass on to the relevant people who can actually benefit from the initiatives taken at various ends. So thank you one and all. See you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the next panel, that is research on engineering and technical education. So this is a token of gratitude. And और आप lunch